And I'll try not to knock it over.
And they just did it undercover. This person.
It changed from residential to...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We'll begin this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. Our public hearings will commence very shortly. Our first order of business tonight is action on the minutes of our August 5th meeting. Is there a motion on those minutes?
Move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our August 5th meeting minutes are approved, which allows us to move into our public hearing agenda for this evening. And as we begin, each application will be announced by one staff member or the other from the podium. And when that happens, we will ask the applicant or their representative to come forward, provide their name and address and a brief summary of the application. And following any questions from the commission members, we will then extend an opportunity to the members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do so. And then we will extend a similar invitation to the public for those members who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do so. Where comments are made in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return and to address those comments made in opposition. So with that, I think we're ready to begin. Heather, would you announce our first application, please?
Yes. Good evening, Commission members. Mr. Kulik, the first two public hearings are companion pieces this evening, and they're continuations from your August 5th, 2019 meeting. The first is R1944. This is a re-subdivision to combine three properties into one new lot at 308 Gifford Street, 517 Wyoming Street, and 620 Southwest Street rear. Wyoming Gifford LLC is the owner and applicant. Those properties lie within a business class A zoning district. The companion special permit, SP 1912, is a special permit for a restaurant. This is to establish a restaurant within a convenience store at 308 Gifford Street, 517 Wyoming Street, and 620 Southwest Street rear. Wyoming Gifford LLC is the owner, and Mamu Naji Musa is the applicant, and all these properties lie within a business class A zoning district.
Okay, thank you, Ed. As we did last time, we will again do this time. You'll hear information currently on these two applications. When it comes time for action this evening, we will act upon these two applications separately. So with that, I see the applicant is here and apparently ready to begin.
I'm Joe Mastriani, the engineer for the project. This is similar to what was presented to the board last time, but a brief redo. Had a meeting with Neil Burke and Jeff Harrop last week regarding a few issues. We had a second driveway from Wyoming. We've gotten rid of that. I also had the city arborist look at it for appropriate trees and area. That's been added, so it wasn't there last time. We have a landscape buffer between the sidewalk and the parking area. We have also put in a pedestrian, this is just striping, so its majority is probably going to be from apartments across Wyoming. So we put a striping that will lead into the handicap area so they can get right into the store, more funneling where we want them to go. Everything else is similar to what we had last time, not really a change. At the end of today, at about 5:10, I got some last minute comments from Mr. Burke, which I'll share with you. They're extremely minor. The property next door to the north belongs to the owner of the property, but it's under a different business name. I think I mentioned last time that he's in the process of trying to combine them all, but it wasn't able to be done for this meeting. So basically what the comments are is to just extend the sidewalk over to the tree line as well as the barrier. That's basically what there is on there. Now, from the last meeting, the board asked that we talk to the neighborhood groups in the area. I called Stephanie Pasquale. She gave me 3 groups that she said would be the ones to contact. I contacted them via email, via telephone call. I got no response. I did get one from Mr. Buckland, Rob Buckland, who was supposed to meet with me last Wednesday. He seemed very anxious or excited to do it, and then he didn't show up to the appointment. I tried to call him back again, no comment back or anything else. And during the meeting last week that I had with Neil and with Jeff, there's another gentleman there, I don't have his name offhand. He said he would try to get one of those people to call me prior to this meeting, but I've gotten no calls. So we tried to call, but we weren't able to reach anybody or get anything through on that. One of the things that was discussed last time during the public hearing portion was what's going to be sold there as far as the hot foods. This is from a store that Mike Waddy, he's part of this. He has at one of his other stores, and he wanted to hand these out, that this is going to be the same fare at the other store there. As you can see, it's a standard hot food selection that you get at most of the different stores in the area. And then one thing that we wanted to point out, I'm actually going to have Mike Waddy come up here and talk. The day after this meeting, there was an altercation. I only have one copy of this. There was an altercation, I guess, between Mr. Waddy and my understanding is the son of the competitor that's 2 blocks away, which resulted in an arrest. And Mr. Waddy wanted that presented also to the board. So, Mike, he's going to give you a quick rundown on what occurred during that time.
Good evening.
Give us your name and address for the record.
My name is Muhammad Wadi. I live in 4853 Coventry Road. We just opened the store with a pizza shop and Italian food in South Carolina just last month, just a few days after the last meeting. And after the meeting, I was here in the meeting, and I was approached by one of my competition down the street. The people there protest against this store and my store, and they attacked me, and I had one of their son arrested. I got the police report just because they think that I took some of their business and why we open, and they don't want nobody to open in Syracuse, basically. I called the police, and actually the manager of Planet Fitness, he called the police, and I had him arrested at that time, and they still have charges pending. I'm will participate, part of the owner for the new store, the one we're talking about in Gifford Street. Is going to be a similar menu to this menu here. It's going to be full line of grocery. Going to be some produce there, some fruits, and possibly fresh meat in that store. It's not going to be just beer, cigarettes, nothing like that. It's going to be tobacco, beer, full line of beer, but the good brand beer, not cheap beer. And we have security too. We'll have security too in that store.
Thank you.
So basically, that's an overview of what we had changed since last time and what has transpired since last time. Any questions from the council?
Let's see, are there further questions?
Just a clarification with regard to the transportation planner's 3 remaining items that you just also presented. Do you have any problem meeting those requirements?
No, like I said, it's basically these 2 dark lines, just extending them to here, extending everything to that. This here basically is grass.
Okay.
So I didn't put anything over there because, like I said, it's just grass, and nobody's going to probably drive around. But if he wants it there, we'll gladly put it there. Not a big deal.
Okay, and also that, and that it would go the opposite way as well.
Well, that's right here.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
That would be right in this.
Okay, and then the third item was he's recommending that the 3-foot wide buffer area would have some planting in it.
Well, what we're putting here is posts. If you look, I don't know if you have
Right.
sets of the plants. There's a detail for a post with chains on it.
Okay.
So he wants, I guess, some small greeneries underneath them. Not a big deal. We're planting hollies out here the small circles, that are salt resistant.
Okay.
So basically, I'm just going to put a few in there and one week.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. And just provide your name and address in your comments.
My name is Aurora Navarro. My address is 308 Leonard Street. And my comments were that actually Mike has tried to meet people in the community in order to actually start a conversation regarding their concerns. He went to a block party about a week and a half ago that they had right there on Skiddy Park, and try to communicate to some of the people and let them know that he's willing to hear their concerns one-on-one and actually meet with them in order to ensure them that those concerns are not liable, because he does not sell loosies. I've seen other of his stores as well. He does not sell any illegal drugs. I've even seen other stores that he has, and he maintains them very clean. He does uphold the most high standards as far as everything that he does. I would not be in favor of anyone unless I knew them personally, and I do know him personally, and like I said, he's a person that likes to follow the rules to the T. And I'm here advocating for him in order for him to be able to open the store and actually bring something positive to the community, because there are other stores that are selling drugs, and those things need to be taken to the right properties, like, the police department. And those things need to be held accountable on that part, not here at Common Council, Those are things that he's willing to work with the police. He has spoken to the police officers, and he doesn't want any loitering or anything like that as well. He's really trying to make sure that the community knows his face, that knows that he's here to help, not to make it worse. And those are my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who might wish to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium.
Good evening. Robert Buckland, 652 West Onondaga Street, president of the West Onondaga Street Alliance. We've heard a lot of good things about the market coming in, about the great things they're going to be offering, services, grocery store, restaurant, fast food. Unfortunately, what we haven't heard, but what we hear too often, is what they do offer. And what I need to bring to your attention is that Mr. Mahmoud and his wife have a market. It's called N&A Market. It's located at 943 Midland Ave. And earlier this month, a bonded New York State private investigator was hired. And on August 23rd at two times, 11:45 and again at 11:53, investigators entered their store, and I am part of the chain of custody, so I can let you see these. You can't touch them because as soon as I leave here, I'm going to the ATF over the federal building. 4 loosies were purchased, and a pack of cigarettes. The pack of cigarettes has a fraudulent New York State tax stamp. I can show you that. I can show you what it actually looks like, a real stamp. I'm going to ask you, is this the kind of store that we want to have on the west side? If they're doing it on the south side, is this the kind of store that we want on the west side? I say not. I'm all for a business opening up, a legitimate business. Well, we just had a young lady sit here and say that they don't sell loosies. And I'm telling you that they're selling loosies and they're selling fraudulent packs of cigarettes. I'd be happy to provide you with the letter from the investigator, and I'd be happy tomorrow or the following day to provide you a letter from the ATF when I get it from them, because that's where I'm heading right after this meeting. And that's all I have to say. Here's the letters from you guys. If you'd like to see the cigarettes, I'd be happy to show you what they look like. But you just can't
time.
Take your time.
It's going to be real ridiculous. But if you look at the package here, this is the distributor stamp. You see what that's just the distributor stamp.
Gotcha.
What was the address that you said, 940?
It's on the letter.
Oh, it is? Okay.
This is the distributor stamp.
943.
This is actually a evidence bag between the custody and the coaching.
So I think this is it.
Is that-
It's 940.
I know exactly what that is.
And you left a copy of the letter, correct?
Right.
Here you go.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other individuals who wish to speak?
Is
to the
this,
position?
excuse me, sir, is this yours? Here you go. Yes.
Yeah, I think we have this, it's all set. We'll go for the record.
Thank you.
Sorry for the...
Hi, my name is Hillary Donahue. I live at 408 Otisco Street, and I'm here to say we don't need another corner store in the West Side neighborhood. We have a corner store about every other block. We're dense with corner stores at this point. They frequently become centers of bad activity, surrounded by styrofoam, trash, various wrappers blowing up and down the streets. I just don't think we need to give this store, as somebody pointed out at the last meeting, we're asking to break a lot of the rules set in place as far as the zoning code for the store to open, and I don't know that opening another corner store on the west side is worth breaking all these zoning rules that are in place. Thanks.
Thank you. Sir.
My name is Gregorio Jimenez. I'm the executive director of the Near West Side Initiative. I live at 301 Wyoming Street. I'm in my position of this because I would like further time to meet with them. I couldn't meet with them at the block party. I'm one of the organizations in the neighborhood, and I didn't have time to meet with them at the block party. We had over about 1,500 people there. So, I would like more time to discuss with them to see kind of what some trade-offs that we can have for that. I don't believe that we should have alcohol sales there because the rescue mission is down the street and it just causes the wrong traffic to come through with the high rise next door and the elderly living there. And I also believe that there shouldn't be tobacco use as well. And I would also like to see them higher within the neighborhood as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Reverend Wiley Johnson from the West Side, 807 Southwest Street, Apartment 1. I've been on the West Side like 35 years. I used to be the hospitality man for No Jane, work for Syracuse Housing, represent the senior citizen, disabled, handicapped people, go to Washington, D.C. And like I said, when I said something, I done experienced something. I haven't been on the West Side for 35 years for nothing. And I seen everything go on. And all my life, all I ever did was went to church and try to help somebody. I was closer here to you, seeing people get killed. I seen everything go on the West Side. And people just come and I done experienced it. That's why I would like to take real good look at this. Because I seen a lot of stuff happening, and it's still happening every day. And people getting robbed, and he got so bad when I was the hospitality man for No Jane, the guard had to walk the people right across the street. They were robbing the people before they even come to the store right across the street from No Jane, the high rise. And we got stole just about run over with one another on the West Side. We got 2 drug stores and just about right across the street from each other. And this alcohol and this drug is just so bad on the West Side. I imagine it on every side, but I'm telling you, I'm not going by hearsay. I'm telling you what I see every day. I've been over there 35 years. The ambulance and the rescue squad ride all day and all night. 'Cause everything connected around the mission and around the people. So I believe in a winner never quit and a quitter never win. Life is a struggle and a fight from the beginning to the end. And that's what I said when I go to Washington and talk to the Senate representative. You got to fight for what you believe in. You ain't gonna win them all, but you don't want to lose them all. But what I'm saying, this is bad for the West Side for me, because I look at the situation and what is alcohol and there's drugs, and then some of everything go on. So I'm asking the panel here to take a good look at this. And, you know, it's worthwhile, I'm telling you. Because, you know, a lot of people just look at the money part. They want to make money at any cost, you know. But I care about people. I think people first and money second. But a lot of people don't see nothing but money, dollar bill sign. But I asked the panel to take a good look at this. Because I'm telling you what I know. And he's continuing to happen every day. As quiet as it kept, he's continuing to happen every day. So I ask you to take a good look at this. Because his people's life is at stake. You know, people dying every day on the West Side. You probably don't hear nothing about it. But I live right there. The Animal Land Rescue Corps, all day and all night. All day and all night. So that's what I'm concerned about. You know, I don't even know the people gonna get the store. I don't have nothing against them, but I just know what's good for the neighborhood. All we need something else to happen there. So I asked the panel to take a good look at this before we come to a decision. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker, please.
Good evening. I'm Pastor Rodney Little, and I had a whole bunch to really say, but then I heard something about the loose cigarettes. When you have any kind of illegal activities going on, it brings problems. You have the rescue mission right there, and most of the people there smoke. Well, how do I know? Because I go down there and feed them. And a lot of times they don't have money to buy a pack of cigarettes. And what they do is panhandle so they can purchase loosies, which in turns draw more unwanted congregation around these stores, which in turns raise your crime level. I don't live in that neighborhood, but I pick up senior citizens from there. I can give you my card and show you where my church is. Welcome. And I've seen activities, illegal activities go on. Sometimes the three members that live in that building are scared to come in and out. Syracuse does not need another troublesome store. We don't need another place to sell alcohol. We don't need another place to sell cigarettes. We don't need another place that's going to draw unwanted crime. We have to stop somewhere. It's all to make a buck off our inner city people. If you go to the counties, you don't see all of these stores. You don't see it. Why is it we have to jump on the inner city and put these unwanted stores where people, and I heard at the last meeting that, oh, it's a convenience. The prices are higher. I have seen these stores go to Price Right and buy a loaf of bread for 89 cents and then turn around and sell it for $2 in the convenience store. We need to learn how to help our communities survive, not smoke, not drink, not buy the whatever kind of marijuana that they sell behind the counter and put it in the little black bags. We need to really rethink this and not let it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Other speakers, excuse me, who wish to speak against this application, please come forward.
My name is Ashanti Pettiford, and my father lived on the west side. His name was Richard Sawyer. He was the president of the building around there, and he's 70 years old. His wife is 71 years old. They do need a store around there to protect them, because I have to get on the bus and go travel and take care of my father and my stepmother. And I gotta go to Price Right, I gotta go to, I gotta find buses, I gotta find what, and I believe they need a store around me. Because it's a shame that these old people, no disrespect, they need somewhere somebody that can handle them, not paying $10, $20 to get X, Y, and Z, because that's what they doing around here, paying these people $20 to take them X, Y, and Z, and I don't think it's right. And that's what I have to say.
So you're in favor of the proposal? You were in favor of the proposal, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just to clarify.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak against this proposal? If so, come forward now, please. So I think all the speakers for or against have had the opportunity to speak. There's an opportunity for you to address some of the comments in opposition.
I'd like to address just a couple short things. I'm the engineer, but looking at this and everything, like I said, Mr. Buckland was supposed to come to my office, didn't call. I tried to call him back. He wouldn't return a call as to why he stood me up. Mr. Gregorio, I left 5 messages for him. And the gentleman that was in the meeting last week says he could call me, have him call me. So he says he'd like to sit down and discuss this. We reached out. We're not getting any calls back or anything. So those are the two things I was a little bit confused by. As far as Mr. Buckland going to the ATF, I don't think they're open after 6 o'clock, but whatever, and I think they would run their own investigation. You just go give a name. I know somebody who did that. Give a name and address. They send their own people in and check it out. You don't have to do it. Money and all that. But needless to say, the one young lady that came up to the thing and the podium and kept asking, why should we let them break the zoning regulations? I didn't know we were breaking any zoning regulations or asking to break any. So I was a little bit confused there by that. And the rest of the statements, I know everybody wants, good for the neighborhood and everything like that, but basically what was stated is either assumptions as to what the store is going to become, no proof based on that, or just saying how bad that area is. And we're already aware of how bad the area is. Basically, my client wants to open up a store. If somebody doesn't want to buy the stuff based on price, don't buy it. He'll go out of business if that's the case. So, he has a right to. It's zoned properly. He's meeting all the requirements as far as site plan. He wants to do everything that the city planning wants done. He's stating what he wants to sell, and that's basically it. There is a video that was sent to me. I'm not going to really share it. I think maybe you had seen it. I'm not sure. Of the gentleman who has a store 2 blocks away after the meeting last time doing a celebration for how they kicked my client down. He won't get to open his store. He won't be in our area. So it shows, how it's done. I've got the video, but I said that's, it's basically somebody happy about it, and that's not really illegal or anything. But that's basically it. That's my thing. You can't predict what's going to be sold at the store or say they're going to be this bad and there's going to be prostitution and drugs and murders and everything else because of this store. So that's all.
Joe, can you just address, you just gave us this at 4 o'clock, 4 something?
No, that's Friday.
Oh, okay. So we did just get this plan. We did not have a chance to compare it to the 7 deviations that were originally part of your application. So I think it would be helpful for the commission to hear, does this plan address any of those? Which ones and how?
Yes, that's what I'm hoping to begin with presentation. So once again, what I was talking about with the last meeting, we were listening to what we had to adjust on the plan. Like I said, we had a driveway here, too close to the intersection. We got rid of it. There was questions about a buffer, so like the cars couldn't go straight across here. We've taken care of that with trees here, but also, like I said, steel pipe with chain link, and also a landscape buffer across there. Okay? Parking's taken care of. Number of parking spaces was adjusted because there is a CVS here, but we do meet, we're not exceeding it, and we're not underneath that, so we have everything there. And like I said, there was another statement saying that the building here is 3 feet back, so it's got to be 10 feet away. We're not going to tear down part of the building. So that's, that was there. And that was basically it. The thing about here, this line here, the diagonal, is the property line. And that's sort of unusual because usually it's parallel with the roadway. So we're going to go through and do through Bob downstairs over there to have that you're going to encroach into the town right or city right-of-way line area. So he wants me to give him like little distances here so he can just go through that. And my understanding is that we don't have to come back and do a presentation, but that goes through, I guess, to the other board. And that's basically what there is.
So what's your understanding, or what's the staff understanding in terms of number of waivers after the transportation planner's comments have been taken into account in this most recent meeting?
So we were just looking over the site plan. The site plan does not address any of the deviations. They do address the transportation planner's comments.
Okay.
And mitigation, they mitigate comments with respect to the transportation planner, but not any of the zoning deviations.
So on our materials, item 20, we say the applicant is proposing to establish 2 24-foot wide driveways on the Wyoming Street right-of-way. You're saying this drawing takes one of those out?
Yes, we're just going to this here and not the one up front.
Okay. But the dimensioning is still such that you would need a waiver for the driveways that are shown?
No, they are shrunk down. Like this one up here, this one here is really the entire length of Wyoming. Okay.
It says the driveway shall not exceed a width of 24 feet with a curb of not more than 30 feet.
Which we have here, 2430, 2430.
Oh, okay.
That's on there.
The problem is they're located in the city right-of-way. And per the zoning ordinance, driveway width is measured at the property line.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that's why. Okay, gotcha.
It's way up here. It's at this point here.
I wasn't paying attention to the last part of the sentence. In terms of the requirement that curbs be provided on all edges of areas accessible to motor vehicles, you're only showing them immediately in front of the building.
You mean, if you could read that through?
Sure. It says that curbs shall be provided along the edges of all areas accessible to motor vehicles to prevent the encroachment of vehicles or any portions thereon upon adjacent property or in the street right-of-way. And the site plan only illustrates curbing immediately in front of the building.
Which is next to impossible. This is the right-of-way. We can't put curbing along there. You'll take out all of the parking. And
but you have curbing.
We have all curbing down here, yeah.
Okay.
Here, from here.
Okay, so this is the right-of-way thing again?
Clarification, he's illustrating curbing along the street right-of-way, but the requirement is to have on-site curbing to prevent vehicles from encroaching into the city right-of-way or onto adjacent properties. Given the nature of the property, I understand the lot lines, if you were to put the curbing on the property, it would limit the parking, but there could still be a requirement to have the required curbing on the inner edges of the parking to prevent encroaching onto the sidewalk or into any required or agreed upon buffer zones.
That, I believe, was
So
the
we need
reason.
to separate from the street curbing from any on-site or city right.
That was the result of our meeting. That is the strip through here with the poles with the chains.
But on the far left of your page, which is north, so this sort of diagonal swath right there from the tree line over to the building, what is the ground material all there?
That's what I said Neil's comments were.
No, the whole thing behind the
here?
building. Yeah, all the way to.
It's grass.
Okay, so that would be an area where there would be a curb on the property to prevent going from the paved parking area onto the grass. There should be a curb there.
Yeah, but however, I understand where we're at here. This is the situation I said where the gentleman who owns all this owns this, and he's in the process of trying to just purchase it so it's all into one piece. So I discussed that with Jeff regarding that. So he owns this piece right here.
But whether he owns it or not, let's assume he does own it. You still have to have a curb between the grass and the paved area for the parking, so that people can't go and park on the lawn. There has to be a physical barrier to prevent that.
Well, we can put this barrier there.
It says curb, right?
The requirement is for curbing.
Right.
The applicant can certainly propose.
There could be wheel
something else,
stops.
such as wheel stops or chain and bollards.
Okay.
But that would deviate from.
That would still be a deviation.
Require a waiver.
So the point is where the pavement stops there and the grass begins, there has to be something to prevent the cars from going there.
Okay.
The letter of the ordinance says it should be a curb, but if it's not a curb and you want it to be something else, you'd still need a waiver, but you have to have the item that prevents the vehicles from going where they're not supposed to be.
Understood.
Okay. So right now you don't have anything, and you're asking for a waiver from that. Okay.
Question.
Yes.
When you gave us this copy, you explained that there was some stuff you weren't able to get taken up prior to this meeting.
Yes, I got that email at 5:11 this afternoon. It's on the front. You can see what time it showed up.
Gotcha.
I wasn't able to change it.
But where he's marked it up is,
Yeah, and it's basically this here. It's just to extend this over to this line. That's all.
There's a lot here to consider, and if we made a decision right now, we still don't have all the necessary information if you still have changes to make, so I'm thinking.
Well, is there such thing as a conditional approval? Because I said basically we're extending these sidewalks over here and putting some curb stops. That's all we're going to do. I mean, we can definitely come back, but that's all we're doing. That's very minor.
Yes.
All right, there was a comment made about administratively approving the property line moving it through the encroachment or through the right-of-way, sorry. Is that something that we could wait to see if that's done, saying that he... There was a comment made about some, since the property line runs, there could be an approval to allow whatever curbing has to be done to actually be done through the right-of-way.
Could you explain that?
There's a department where you get the building permits on the first floor. And before you get into the building permit, on the right-hand side, there's a gentleman there named Bob. He handles this section that does encroachments into right-of-way. And there's an application form and everything.
Okay, so an
And he says that
encroachment
to
is...
just show how far each spot will go. And he said, that will take, he says, probably 2 or 3 months, he says, till he gets it put together, sends it to Common Council, all that kind of stuff. And he said you'll eventually get it. So that's what we're waiting for there.
Okay. An encroachment is only approved by the Common Council.
Okay. I'm just telling you what he told me.
It wouldn't be an administrative decision.
Okay.
Does that answer your
So
question?
the answer is, again, so it's not an administrative process, it's the Common Council that has to approve that.
Correct.
So we have waivers in front of us. We have, even if we have these companion pieces of re-subdivision and then the special permit, there's still some questions about the re-subdivision. There still seems to be some issues addressing the plan that's in front of us now, the most recent site plan.
questions for the re-subdivision? Because, I mean, that's just putting 3 lots into one.
Yes, I think the outstanding issues with respect to lot lines are that the property owner is using the city's property, i.e. the right-of-way, for their own use, i.e. parking and other things. So that I'm aware, there is no permission for that now. And permission would need to be granted to park and traverse the property in the right-of-way, and that is granted by the common council.
But that is for site plan approval. He's talking about re-subdivision of 3 lots into one. He said there are questions about the re-subdivision. Is there something not lacking about the re-subdivision?
No, he was asking about the property lines, and I was explaining the outstanding issues with respect to the property lines are that the owner is using the city's property.
Right, I understood that.
For
right.
their own use.
Okay.
That's an encroachment, and that is only approved by
re-subdivision, that's what I was asking.
What I said, we're reviewing them as companion pieces. But, so taking each application separately, there's more than an administrative issue dealing with the property itself.
There's no
No, I'm saying there's more than, even if we would approve it, there's still this issue of the use of the property in the right-of-way.
That is correct. That is correct.
And no application to some nice person downstairs is going to change that.
That's correct.
I always have a deliberative thought, and sometimes I'm not clear, so I'm
No,
going to be
no,
really
no, no.
slow and careful.
I thought you were asking that there was an administrative, i.e. me, the administrator,
Right. No, there's
to
a
approve
separate office
something.
that we don't have with us right now.
That's correct.
And it
Yes,
still
correct.
can't solve the problem.
That's correct. Yes.
So
Sorry.
I'm going to turn my head back,
Okay.
slowly and carefully. To be clear, all right, I was asking a staff member if there was anything we need to clear up with staff. It's beyond what our staff can do. And now I have a concern right now, it's still not a clear question for the group that's sitting here. But I'm going to give it back to the chairman and let him ask the whole panel a question.
Thank you so much. So I think our options are either to continue this hearing, to leave it open, or to close it with the information that we have and try to make a determination on each application separately. One thing I did want to suggest is, since you are still here and the gentleman from the West Side Initiative is still here, perhaps we put a pause on this particular pair of cases for the moment, and if you had an opportunity to maybe have a little dialogue in the hall to see if it looks fruitful for some further discussion, totally up to you. If you might want to explore that a little bit, we're willing to pause and move on to some other applications while that happens. And if that's not your collective choice, that's fine too, and we'll still figure out how we move forward. So
No, I'd be glad to speak with them, but I need to clarify things for myself. So what I'm hearing, though, is because of our encroachment application, nothing could be done anyway. Is that what I'm hearing?
it seemed that action would be premature because of the encroachment issues.
But the issue of putting the 3 lots back into one, was there something preventing that, or?
I think
Because re-subdivision is that.
only in that they're companion pieces.
Okay, well, either way.
I mean, it is a separate action, but the one is being proposed because of its relationship to the more substantive proposal regarding the special permit.
Yes.
So if that sounds agreeable, we'll just pause for the moment on these two. If you want to explore a little bit of conversation, see if it looks promising, that's great. And then you can let us know later on after you've had a chance to have a little dialogue. Okay.
Terry, you want to take it? So I can show him.
Take it, because there might be another applicant.
That's fine, that's fine. So we'll be back in that. Thank you.
So we'll hold this one open, and we'll move to still another hearing. Our next application, please. We should space this out a little more.
The next public hearing is SP 1917. This is also a continuation from your August 5th, 2019 meeting. This is a special permit for a gasoline service station as well as a restaurant. And this is to establish a gas station within a restaurant within a convenience store at 401, 407, and 415 East Brighton Avenue. GAT 7393 LLC is the owner. Marabido Holdings Incorporated is the applicant. And this lies within a business class A zoning district and a commercial class B zoning district.
Thank you, Heather.
What's the next one? This is Valley Drive. This is the gas station.
This is Third Drive.
Do you want, we can.
You're good, you're good.
That's okay. Does this go with this one? This is the Valley Drive, that's the next one. Okay.
Wait, hold on, I'll help you out.
We were going to leapfrog over you to another application, but since you're already at the podium, we're going to hold on that one and ask you to proceed by giving your name and address and then summary where we stand with the application.
Very good. Thank you very much. Brian Bouchard with CHA Consulting. Attending on behalf of Marabido for continuation from the last meeting. We talked about the progression of the project, which included a variety of uses before, but now includes just the standalone gas station. We went through the various aspects of the site layout and positioning of the building, access, landscaping, things of that nature. And at the end of the meeting, we were asked to provide some additional information. So since the meeting, we have supplied the traffic study, in particular to some comments that we discussed regarding the Thurber Street driveway. And we also submitted a more detailed and revised signage package for this application. So to go through the traffic impact study, we analyzed the existing traffic during both peak hours. We found the available gaps for left turns, both into and out of the driveways. This also considered the queuing and the queue length from the signalized intersection to make sure that there was enough room to make turns without causing an impact on traffic. We looked at sight distances from the driveways. We looked at accident history at the intersection itself to be sure of the history of the accidents there. And then we applied the trip generation for what the new uses would be. Obviously, the original traffic impact study did consider the other uses, so we can only assume that it'll be less without those. But the conclusion, which you'll find on page 7, which I sort of briefly went through last time, there's more than ample gaps to turn cars from the driveway. There's good sight lines for safety and the people turning out of the driveway. There's no capacity concerns. The level of service of the signalized intersection doesn't change. And there's an acceptable level of service of all three driveways that are proposed. And in the end, there's no mitigation required for the driveways. I know that part of the conversation from the community groups that we've met with and some of the comments that we got last time were the condition of the roadway, which obviously we can't alter, but also an increase in traffic. And what you'll find within the report is a section that goes through the statements of pass-by trips, which is the fact that this is not a destination that you travel from Erie Boulevard to go to this particular Marabido. It's really just the pass-by trips that are captured. So it's really already people that are on the network of roads, whether they're going to work or from work, that are captured by this. So the increase in traffic is really negligible. I think the statement in the report was that it's 1 to 2 vehicles per signal cycle that are going to enter and exit this site. So we believe that we've satisfied and hopefully justified the need for that third driveway. The other new information that we provided was a sign package. Particular comments came regarding the height of the ground sign. That was a 24-foot pylon sign. And we went back and worked with the applicant to come up with a more reasonable signage request that's more comparable to some of the other things that you've seen with the burned dairy that came back through. So that 24-foot pylon sign is now a 12-foot, 9-inch monument sign. This was something that we talked about as far as trying to make this development have more green space out front than it does, have more pedestrian accessibility that it does, but also as you drive into the site, really being the entrance to the neighborhood, having something that's a little bit more decorative as far as a monument sign. The size of that sign, previously being 24 foot tall, was 192 square feet per side. That's been reduced to 64.5 square feet. So the size of the ground sign is also significantly reduced. We still have 3 signs on the canopy. This is pretty typical, obviously, 62.5 square feet each. We still have 2 signs on the building itself at 40 square feet each, but we did remove the third. There was a third wall sign that was shown, and that's since been removed. And then we still have the pump toppers, which are 1.5 square feet each. But in total, I think what Jeff was adding up before was something on the order of 688 square feet, and that's been reduced to 408 square feet. So not quite half, but a significant reduction based on the comments that we received. The waivers that continue aside from the signage that we asked for and we talked about, I'll just reiterate them again. It's the same waivers that we had last time. Dealing with the pavement setback to the rear property, we pulled the fence and the wall off of that sliver of land that's in the back, but because of the distance between the property line at the street and the property line at the rear, there is no room to move that back any further, but we talked about the height of the wall and the screening and other things that are in place back there to prevent, noise trespass and headlights and other things are not going to be an issue with this because of the elevation change that happens to the rear of the property. We also have the 8-foot front yard landscape buffer. So again, without moving the site forward anymore, we can't provide the 8-foot landscape buffer, but we do provide 5 feet of it. What I went through last time was that although 8 feet is required from the property line to the site side of the curbing, our right-of-way is actually fairly wide. So between the curb line of Brighton Ave, we have a 4-foot snow shelf. Then we have a 5-foot sidewalk, and we actually have 8 feet of green space perceived between the sidewalk and the curb line of the site. So there's more than 13 feet of green space aside from the 5-foot sidewalk, which will still be an improvement from what's out there today with the space that we are limited to there. The third waiver was parking. Jeff, I believe, added up to 38 spaces because I don't think we captured the patio seating. There's some seating outside under the umbrellas and also the seating inside for sandwiches and the food that they prepare. So we're providing 23 spaces. We also have 8 spaces though where you can, obviously when you're gassing, you can pump and then run into the store. So in total we have 31 places to park, and I don't know how that needs to be read as far as a waiver goes, but it's probably 23 spaces of the 38 required, although we have the 8 spots to park when you're fueling. So we hope that waiver isn't significant either. The things that we were able to deal with, we showed the snow storage on the plan. That was waiver requested that we don't need. We also revised all the driveway widths and curb cut widths to be compliant with the 30 feet and the 24-foot width, so we don't need that waiver. Other minor adjustments, we have the dumpster moved away from the residential property to this side of the site over here. We've added a bike rack and revised sort of the configuration of the sidewalk out front. I believe we improved it based on some of the staff's comments as far as the sidewalk alignment, but obviously the sidewalk has another round of reviews that are more particular to the road cut permit, and we'd be willing to adjust that if there's better ideas that can be put forward. But in general, what we're showing is the consistent snow shelf along both Brighton and Thurber, and when you get to the corner, there are some obstacles in the way. There's city monuments, there's guy wires for telephone poles, there's electrical boxes, and all of those things would really lead to a crooked sidewalk that's hard to navigate for the winter time. So we chose to make it much wider. It's 10 feet curved to the edge of the sidewalk at that area to give a little bit more safety for the pedestrians, and hope that if there are other changes that are needed, we can deal with that through the permitting process. So with that, those are the changes, and if there's any other comments or questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
See the transportation planner's comments that are dated today in regard to the alignment of the sidewalk on both Brighton and Thurber?
Correct. That's exactly what I was just talking about.
So your description reflects his comments that would add greater snow storage on both streets, correct?
Correct. So what he is not, maybe he's not realizing it, there are other reasons why we didn't move the sidewalk further into the site. And those reasons are guy wires for poles. That would be an obstacle. There's a fire hydrant there, there's electrical boxes there, and there's also city monumentation, which if you go down further in Ray Will's comments, there's a 5-foot clear area around city monumentation. So there's all these things that are conflicting with each other, and we went through numerous iterations of trying to make that sidewalk further offset of the road, and what happens is a bunch of jogs in the sidewalk, which you can imagine if it's snowy out, is hard to navigate. So we chose to leave a 5-foot sidewalk and make the area around the intersection 10 feet wide, which is shown from this point at the radius all the way to this point, and there would be new ramps, so this area is fairly wide, and still give people 5 feet of clear space on the sidewalk, but also enough area where they feel comfortable. When the snow is plowed, this also provides a space where the snow is going to go onto the sidewalk, but at 10 feet wide, they'll be able to clear an area and still sort of maintain that snow shelf, is what I was trying to say. So he does go through the preferred alignment, and I think if there's other tweaks to this, even making it wider than it is now and still avoiding some of the other comments that you see further down with respect to the city monumentation, I think we have any ability to satisfy those comments with respect to the sidewalk throughout the permitting process.
Could you speak to his comments about the sidewalk on Thurber? Have you already responded to those? Where he says the sidewalk should jog inwards to avoid squeezing pedestrians between travel lanes and utility poles. It says instead of jogging towards the curb line. And I'm looking at the drawing and I don't really...
It doesn't jog toward the curb line, but when you see here, we have a 4-foot snow shelf up until the driveway. Mm-hmm. And what happens is it basically vanishes because there's a utility pole right here with a large guy wire. Mm-hmm. Once you get on the site side of that utility pole, there's electrical boxes, a hydrant, bollards, there's another utility pole, there's a hydrant here, and there's a few city monuments that exist down in the right-of-way as well. So it doesn't jog, but it approaches the curb line, I think is what he was saying. He wanted it further inboard of the site.
Okay, so it's basically the same issue.
Correct.
And what about his comment talking about having the sidewalk align with the property line instead of the curb line? Is that the same issue?
Yes, that's another way of describing it. So the property line being here, if you were to move the sidewalk inboard of the property line, it would be conflicting with the electrical boxes and the bollards and some of the other things that are out there. I think there's probably a little bit of adjustment that could be done to that, whether it's making it wider, and we're not opposed to that. But really, I think what we were trying to avoid was hard bends and turns that are almost indistinguishable when it's snowy out.
Do you have, so this is, the shaded area is your, did you call it the sidewalk a minute ago or the snow shelf? I was reading it as the sidewalk.
So the shaded area is the sidewalk, but there's dimensioning between the curb line and the sidewalk that's the blank white, and that 4-foot is the snow shelf. So it's a grass area between the sidewalk and the curb line.
So is your curb line on a, is it like on a layer that's, it's really light, correct?
It's the double line, as you see.
Yeah, it's like another, it's another layer. It's just lighter than.
Yeah, it's lighter because it's existing. Yeah.
Right, so it's just a little harder to read.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's also a comment. Let me just find it. Without bollards or widening, the sidewalk area associated with the handicap stalls would be reduced below ADA minimums for by vehicle overhang. So can you address that? I'm assuming he means directly in front of the building.
Okay, so yes, either curb stops or bollards would be placed at those handicap spaces because there's only 5 feet between there and the building, so we can address that as well. The problem here with the grading, front to back of the site is fairly steep, so there's a flat spot here, and what we've done is created like a zero reveal curve there, and what he's saying is that potentially, I guess, somebody not only could encroach upon the sidewalk, but I guess they could smash into the building too. So there's a point where we can add either curb stops or bollards in the preference. That's fine.
Okay. And of course, his very first comment still has to do with the number of curb cuts.
Correct.
Okay.
And I think as we went through, the concern with the number of curb cuts was really increased traffic and safety of traffic, all of which we've addressed within the traffic study.
That's true, but also from a special permit perspective, the commission has to look at just compatibility with neighborhood character,
Sure.
neighborhood activity.
Yeah.
That's a special permit issue
Yeah.
that goes above and beyond.
Correct.
Measurable data.
Right. Sure.
And correct me if I'm wrong, one of your opening statements was this would not be a highly sought after location because you said no one would drive from Erie Boulevard to come to this gas station, correct?
Correct.
Now my question for you would be, gas prices do fluctuate, correct?
Correct.
So if this location happened to have fairly decent gas prices, in your opinion, do you see people turning and wanting to go to this location?
No, I would say that, as we found out at the, this is a convenience store, so it's really capturing traffic that's already there. I think what you're talking about is maybe something on the order of a few cents per gallon, which if you came from far enough away, you'd probably use up in the drive that you had to come. Moravido and any gas station are very aware of what their competitors' pricing is. And this isn't the type of shop that may have like a Wednesday night discount where there's going to be like 10 or 20 cents off a gallon or something to get rid of what's left in their tanks. This is going to be fairly consistent with the rest of their stores. It's going to be comparable with the stores that are up the street as far as gas pricing goes. So I don't foresee there being a drastic reduction in the market price of gas here that would cause that.
I'm not saying there will be, I'm just
right. And if it was, I think it would be negligible as far as the cents per gallon to travel too far in order to come to this location above any that are either at the bottom of the hill or further up the hill.
Only reason why I express that is it's left with assumption, and we don't want to make a decision off of assumption. That's the only reason I express that.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium with your name, address, and your comments.
Hello, panel. My name is Sam Twill. I'm the family member involved with the property, GAT LLC. I want to speak very short and give you some facts about what I've done in the area, how long my family's been involved in the area. We've been in that area almost 50 years. I've been in that location since 1984. We were up the street on a couple other buildings that we leased. I've purchased those buildings. I've been turning that area around a little bit at a time. I also was the person involved with the development of Aspen Heights. At that time, I met with the neighbors, looked at their concerns, and I tried to resolve all their concerns at the time. On this project, I've had several different national companies who wanted to come to this site. I've been very careful about who I've chosen to do business with, and not just for myself, but for the neighbors and the area, because I still think that Brighton Avenue has a great possibility of growth. I'm a believer in it, and I'm an investor there. I've met with the Outer Comstock Group with this project, and I've addressed everything that they've asked me to address. We were going to build a car wash there, with the store, with the restaurant, a drive-through. There were some concerns about the car wash being there, about the drive-through being there. We've removed them both. One of the persons that I spoke to, which is here tonight, asked if the project could be moved south of the corner. We moved it as far south as possibly could be done. They've asked us for a reduction in hours. We reduced the hours of operation from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock. They asked for a patio area where they could sit down and have coffee or whatever they would like. We put that in place. This is a great project for the area. It's the catalyst for other things that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to bring in restaurants into the area. I'm dealing with an Asian restaurant at this point and an Italian restaurant also in the area. Everything that I've done to the maximum in the area. I'm going to be directly across the street from the project. I am going to control the project. We are not selling the project. It's a land lease project. These people are out of Binghamton, New York. The reason that I went with them is because I can call the president of the company and he'll respond immediately. He's done everything that's been asked of him. They wanted a stone wall in the front as Aspen height. I did that. So what I'm trying to tell you is the minority here does not speak for the majority. I don't want to see the student housing, which is a $50 million project that was brought to Brighton Avenue, go down the tubes. I deal with the students every day. We have athletes there. We have graduate students there. We have students from upstate, medical. They need services. This is a service that is needed drastically. There is no place to go except for, which I just opened, which is Scratch Bakery. It used to be the Brighton Bakery. I opened Brighton Liquor Store there, and I'm trying to get more people to come into the area and provide services to the neighborhood. This isn't just for the students, this is for the neighborhood. We have probably 50,000 neighbors who are going to use this. They're going to come there. It's a local operation. People from, this gentleman asked about gas prices. Very rarely does that have any effect on people coming, unless they're 20 cents or 30 cents different, then maybe. But this is pennies on the dollar. It's not going to affect the traffic. The people who are going to use this are people in the area. Every day, I get somebody to ask me, is there any place to eat around here? Is there a place I can get gas? Is there a place I can get groceries? We're going to supply groceries, bananas, apples, good food. They are going to have subs. They are going to have pizza. They are going to have pharmaceutical products. They're going to have things that are needed in the neighborhood. We need it drastically. We've done everything that the Outer Comstock Group has asked of us, and I think this is a great project, and it's going to help increase the other projects that I'm going to try to do in the area. I really want this to happen, and I think we've done everything we can to make it happen. The ball's in your hands. Thank you.
Quick clarification, if you would, please. Early in your comments, you made a reference to hours. Could you repeat what that was, a change in the hours from?
Oh, well, originally they didn't want them to be open 24 hours a day.
Okay.
It was a 24-hour day operation. So I went back, and the reason, again, that I dealt with Mirabito was because I can call them and I can talk to them. I said, look, these are the concerns. How do we fix these concerns? And they've done everything they've jumped over hoops to make this happen. They're a good company, well-respected, and they're going to be there for a long time. And I'm hoping they're going to be there for a long time, right across the street.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
What are the hours of operation if it's not?
The operations at this time are 6 to 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Are there individuals who would like to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward, provide your name and address and your comments.
My name is Gloria Sage, and I live at 1217 Jamesville Avenue. I reorganized the Outer Comstock Neighborhood Association in 1989. It had sort of gotten defunct. It was actually started incorporated in 1978 to oppose putting the dome at Skytop. But it had sort of gotten defunct in the 80s. But anyway, we've been fighting this project for at least 20 years. And the land use plan, which specifically mentioned this corner, and later it sort of just said that one should make, one should preserve entryways to neighborhoods. So I want to ask you, your neighborhood, let's say Westcott Street, would you like a car wash, a gas station and a convenience store, say on Euclid and Westcott, or East Genesee and Westcott Street? Would you like that? You think that's proper? Well, anyway, the other thing is with Aspen Heights, we only really push for two things. One was sidewalks on Brighton Avenue, which I think was a disgrace that there weren't sidewalks there. And originally they didn't want to put sidewalks there. They said nobody walks on on Brighton Avenue. And then we said no entryway on Thurber Street. And this project has an entryway on Thurber Street. So anyway, that was one thing. I did bring up a lot of these concerns last time, but there was one or two things that I didn't mention. One is, do you go to a gas station because it's right next to you, or do you go shopping or go to work and then, get gas? I don't think that the idea of having conveniences next door is reasonable. Now, as far as a convenience store, again, you don't really go out to a convenience store and a gas station to get stuff for your house. What you do is you stop on the way, particularly, for example, we had problems with a lot of litter on Comstock, Thurber, and a lot of the litter was from people working for SU. There's a lot of facilities on Ainsley Drive, and then there's the university. And they would go down and they would get their stuff at a convenience store. I remember Tim Hortons or, up at the top. And we would get it on our driveways, just all over the street. And I actually wrote several times when I was president of the Outer Comstock Neighborhood Association, which I have been for 15 years, still on the board, but, and I said to the facilities person, can you please have your trucks have garbage bags in them so they don't throw it out on our driveways or, in the green spaces? And so, things have gotten a little better. But I know people on Thurber Street say, we pick up litter every day, but there are a lot of rentals now, there's that cemetery, and they don't pick up. Now, I've always said that you can tell when you're in a when you're in a slum. You don't have to see it in the newspaper. All you have to do is look and see the litter on the street. Have you ever gone the ramp on 81 from East Colvin Street? Or let's say another thing, going down Beach Street from Thorndon Park down towards East Genesee Street? The litter is incredible. And, we don't need litter in our neighborhood. We don't have to be a slum. I might say that I think that Sam Tewil would do a great job of keeping his facility clean. I'm sure he will. But he doesn't have control of people who go into the convenience store, get their sandwiches, their cups, and go through the neighborhood. They're working, so they're not home, and throw it out the window. I don't think that people, the students, say in Aspen Heights, would particularly need a gas station or go and get things in a convenience store. It's just not what people do, at least in my knowledge. Anyway, that's what I would say. I don't think that you need, the last talk was, we essentially need something across the street. That's not what people do. I don't think that you would go out from your house to a convenience store and a gas station just to buy, some whatever, drinks or something. I don't think people do that in the neighborhood. And I don't think people who live in the neighborhood are the ones that throw out litter.
Thank you. Other individuals who want to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward.
Barb Genton, a member of the Outer Comstock area for 25 years and a resident in this city since 1949. I want to speak a few things I have mentioned several weeks ago. 1 mile from this proposed project are two, not one, 2 gas stations. I am very concerned that there are too many gas stations in our area. 2, Sam mentioned owning property on the other side of the street on Brighton, because that's where his business is going to go. Why not put that convenience store on that side of the road? You see, this proposed project is the entrance to our community, and I invite you, before making any decision, to take a drive up Thurber and see how close this project is. But also, I am so interested in when that traffic study was done, because you see, if it was done today, the opening of Syracuse University classes, I bet you might get different results. So there is a lot of students that come and come through there. So those are several things. I think the key thing is that this is the entrance to the community. There's 2 gas stations not far away. You can move the project across the street. Oh, and by the way, just under, I'd say about a half mile up, is a pizza shop and a fabulous diner. Then you have dancers. So there is no Chinese place to serve that type of food, but there are eateries on that road. So I invite you to come to my community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other individuals to speak in opposition to the application?
My name is Brenda Silverman, and I live at 300 Rowe Avenue, which is at the top of Thurber, and I've been there 25 years. And there's a number of things. We heard some really passionate talk by the ministers on the west side about having convenience stores and what do convenience stores bring with them. And at one point, this was proposed the week of 9/11 by Mr. Twill, that he put in his gas station. And with the idea that the police would stop there and have donuts and coffee to cut down on the crime in the area. And when we think about who lives there in this neighborhood, right now we have a new housing development, Xavier Woods, which is not far from Thurber on Comstock, with some somewhat expensive homes. Those people are not going to be shopping at a convenience store. The students are not going to shop, and there's hundreds of them in Aspen, and there's hundreds of apartments that are filled primarily by students. But it might be nice to go get some cheap, or not cheap, whatever it costs, beer and cigarettes. And how nice to have a place just presented to you where you could go in with a fake ID and get what you want. There have been in the past problems with the Vincent Apartments. There's been a lot of problems in the neighborhood which seem to have stabilized a little bit. What else do I want to say? I was very impressed with what those two men said. We don't need to be a city of convenience stores. And another point that, as we were talking earlier, as the climate change issue goes forward, that gas stations themselves are a blight. Once they're emptied, then what do you do with the land? If you go 1 mile exactly past this neighborhood going south, you come to the top of Brighton Hill where 173 comes in. And there's a large Sunoco there that's been there for years. Across the street is a Mobil, and that Mobil was actually empty for several years. Senator Schumer came, I think it was during the last couple of years when Stephanie Miner was mayor, and talked about developing that area at the top of the hill. The Mobil somehow came back. The for sale sign disappeared, and it's back. There are a number of gas stations on South Salina Street. In this area, when you go around the bend on Brighton, you come to South Salina. You go south, and there's a number of gas stations. The last thing we need is more gas stations. If they become empty, they don't get bought, you can't do anything with them. We don't need convenience stores with beer and cigarettes for people who are not yet 21 or just barely 21. That's not what we need. We do have restaurants, as was pointed out. We also have a number of refugees who have moved in and bought homes, many of them with young children. We have a park, Thornton Park, which is not Thornton Park, Comfort Tyler Park, which is very heavily used during the summer. It's very, very heavily used by large family groupings. We have an awful lot of positive things going on in that neighborhood. A gas station and a convenience store will not add to that at all. It will just be a potential for the kind of problems that the police might want to stop and have donuts and drink coffee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other individuals who may wish to speak in opposition, please come forward.
Good evening. My name is Mark Watkins, and I live at 300 Row Avenue in Outer Comstock neighborhood. I've lived there since 1993. Ours is the kind of middle-class, diverse neighborhood that this city should take pride in and want to preserve and protect. And putting a convenience store and a gas station, even with smaller signs and smaller lights, gives the wrong message about our residential neighborhood. If you go up, may I use this?
Sure. And when you're speaking, you may wish to disengage the microphone if you want to walk around in front of it.
If you look at this map here, here is East Brighton, and what we don't see is the other side of East Brighton, because right opposite Thurber Street are private homes going down the hill. Aspen is over here, and speaking of Aspen, if the students or people who live there want to buy gasoline, that means they have cars. And if they have cars, they're not going to shop at this convenience store. They're going to go to Walgreens or Tops or Wegmans. They're not going to use this convenience store or this gas station because, as is already mentioned, there are two gas stations exactly 1.0 miles up the hill from Brighton. And they are in competition with each other, so the gas prices are good and they get lots of traffic up there. Thurber is a two-lane street, and a lot of traffic comes off exit 17, headed south on 81, comes off exit 17 and comes up East Brighton, turns left on Thurber, turns left on Comstock to get to the university. And similarly going in the other direction. So this is a heavily trafficked intersection. The gentleman who spoke first said they did this traffic study. I wonder when it was done, because the amount of traffic between summer vacation and when the students are all here, the difference is enormous. Also, one other thing to bear in mind, in Syracuse, we've seen lots of defunct gas stations. The skeletons remain there for decades because the land, if it's once used for a gas station, has to be remediated before it can be used for anything other than a gas station. So if this particular gas station doesn't make it, we're going to be left with this dinosaur remains forever. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Okay, I think all the individuals speaking for or against have exercised that opportunity, so the applicant, there's an opportunity for you to address some comments in opposition.
Try to address these their concerns one at a time. First of all, The students that are there, it's staggered traffic. This traffic study was done while the students were here. That's number one. Number two, they're talking about 2 service stations that are a mile up at the top of the hill. You can't get in or out up there. It's a complete different world. We're talking about serving the Comstock, Brighton Avenue area. This Brighton Avenue is a commercial district. It was zoned by the city to be a commercial district. When they bought their house, they knew they were buying their house next to a commercial district. That's number one. I own, on those 3 corners, 3 individual homes. One that I built that was a drug-infested house that I knocked down to the ground and built a 2-family. I still own it. I own a house adjacent to the property. I own a house across the street from the property on Brighton Avenue. The people who are, the study that was done by Mirabito and the other stores or restaurants that wanted to come into the area are coming there because they know there's a need. They're investing about $3.5 million on that corner. So those are the things that are going to bring Brighton Avenue into the next generation. We need growth. I've been there forever. Everything that's been done, Aspen Heights, that was a $50 million project. Think about that, on East Brighton Avenue in the city of Syracuse. Unheard of. People thought that we were crazy. It wasn't going to work. We're doing a great job. There's security there. We don't have problems with crime, and we won't have problems with crime at this area. We've reduced the hours of operation. There's security across the street. There'll be security there. I will be across the street. I have a business that I've been in business, we've been in business since 1958 in my family. So all their concerns that they've talked about, I've discussed with the Outer Comstock group. I've addressed everything that they've asked us to address. This is a great project. It's zoned for this type of business. The city believes it's zoned for this type of business because they rezoned it. So I think that this should all be taken into consideration. They all know me. My doors have been open forever. Anybody who would want to come to my place. And Gloria's right. Everything is kept clean, and that's the way I operate. Sometimes there is rubbish, but there's rubbish all over. The owner of that operation is going to want to keep his business clean. He's not investing $3.5 million to make it look like a third area. We're trying to increase the values of the area, the values of the home, and the values of Syracuse. We need to grow the south side. This is not just a regular convenience store. This will serve the students. This will serve the people who live in the apartments. This will serve the residents who live in the area. The people who are going to use this place are the people who live in the area. And I'm sure that these people will use the place as well when they see how convenient it is for everybody. I have people walking from Aspen Heights. I have people coming from Ivy Ridge. I have people coming from Remington that are now going to the new bakery. There are people who buy liquor. You're not going to stop that. I'm sure they're going to sell beer. Are they going to sell to minors? No. They don't want to have any problems. Are they going to sell cigarettes? Probably. Are they going to sell food? 100%. Are they going to sell good food, healthy food? Yes. They have pharmaceutical goods. There is a need. I've been there forever, and believe me, this needs to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
The only other thing that I wanted to add, just for the record, is that the traffic study was completed on March 27th. So school was in session of this year, correct, and that's noted on the first page of the traffic study. And also that Mirabito owns and operates over... No, it was not. We specifically, at the pre-development meeting with all the city staff, went through all the requirements and expectations of the project so that we had a good handle on the things that at least the city side would need. And one of the things that Neil Burke specifically requested was a traffic study that would be completed within the school hours, and that we had to hurry up and get it done because a month and a half-ish later, school would be out. So, March 27th. And as I was saying, the only other thing that I would add is that Mirabito owns and operates 100 of these similar stores. So they are a very large operation as far as the ability to control some of the delinquencies that you talked about.
Thank you for the clarification. Can you be brief, please?
Okay. I just want to make one comment about what Sam had said. and that is that until the rezoning took place and the area was made commercial, the corners on both sides of Thurber Street onto Brighton Avenue were zoned residential C, which allowed for things like doctor's offices or dentist offices, things that did not generate much traffic. And so I don't know what the zoning where those people, there must be about 5-6 houses across the street. And I don't think that was commercial when those were built. So, it is commercial now, but the zoning was changed. We weren't told. The neighborhood organization, people who lived right next door were not told. And I think that is really very bad. And I did mention that in a federal case where they did something like that, the courts reversed it.
Thank you. Thank you to all the speakers this evening for your comments one way or the other. I think we are in a position to close this public hearing and move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is SP 1920. This is a special permit for light-duty motor vehicle repair at 1417, 1421, and 1427 to 1431 Valley Drive. JRJP Properties is the owner. PHI GI Inc., doing business as J&J Automotive, is the applicant, and these properties lie within a business class A zoning district.
Oh, you tell us.
Good evening again. My name is Brian Bouchard with CHA Consulting. I'm attending on behalf of J&J Automotive. This is 1427 Valley Drive. It's within an existing BA zoning district, and its existing building. The building is currently vacant for a few years, and it's located just north of Seneca Turnpike on Valley Drive. Historically, I believe from what we could find back in the 40s or 50s, it has been used for light-duty auto before. But as mentioned, a variety of uses have gone through it, and it's been vacant for a few years. The applicant is requesting a special permit for light-duty auto repair. The existing building will be repurposed with new storefront windows and an entrance, which is lacking currently. The site itself is the majority of the comments that we received back, specifically on the traffic side. And the site is truly challenging because it is an existing building. Its placement with respect to the roadway offers about 20 feet between the property line and the building itself. And the only other area which is directly adjacent to the building is a secured parking area with a fenced enclosure just to the north side of the building. The front of the building has always been used for parking, so the best that we could really do with it is to rearrange that parking so that there wasn't any people that were actually backing out onto the roadway. There's enough room to park more cars than what we've shown if they were parked perpendicular to the building, but we believe that with delineated striping, somebody's going to be able to still pull off the street, because that's something that a business needs to operate. When you're looking for this business, part of the problem with J&J Auto's existing location on Genesee Street is that the parking lot is actually across the road from Genesee Street. This creates an issue where somebody's trying to come park and schedule a service or some sort of short-term parking, and that's really what we're trying to create with the 8 spaces that you see there. This avoids the backing out, as I mentioned. It still provides the customers an area where they're going to approach the building and be able to stop and schedule the service and then leave. So it's really more of the short term. The employees in the cars that are being serviced or stay overnight have the ability to park in the secured parking lot. What we can't do is open up that parking lot to be a parking area, because people, just like the Genesee Street location now, people would inherently want to pass through that garage. The intent of the fenced-in area is to be a secured area. Additionally, you're going to get the overnight hours where the gate's locked, and sometimes there's people who drop off to the drop-off box or the key box, and this provides people, even though it's not ideal, a designated spot to park within the private property. They're not going to trespass over the sidewalk or park over the sidewalk, but they're also not going to stop in the middle of the road. The maintenance of the sidewalk and curb cut was one of the things that Neil Burke mentioned as far as the widths, and I just wanted to mention that too. The improvements to the curb cut are actually fairly recent. I don't know exactly. We tried to find out today exactly what year they were built, but the existing curb cuts and curbing and asphalt area that's between the sidewalk and the curbing and the sidewalk itself have all been replaced as part of the improvement program by the DPW down in the valley. So we would ask that we maintain sort of the existing condition out there for the driveways and curb cuts, and hopefully improve upon the parking and striping arrangement that we have. The only waiver that I have to talk about from the staff comments is the signage. Obviously, under a special permit, we're allowed one ground sign of 40 square feet and one wall sign of 40 square feet. There isn't room, obviously, for a ground sign. The wall sign that would be installed by the applicant is actually the existing sign within his, on the storefront of his Genesee Street location, and that sign is 50 square feet. So we would ask that in lieu of the two signs, we are going to have one sign that's 50 square feet, so we need a waiver from the required 40 square feet. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Let's see, questions? The applicant?
Yes. What's the capacity for car parking within the fenced-in area?
The capacity, I can estimate it for you because I don't have the cars that are drawn in there. This was kind of overgrown and has been going through a little bit of cleaning as far as the brush and shrubs. But I mean, if you can look at the size at least of what those cars would be, you know, I would say that it's probably at least 20 cars that could be parked back there. A portion of this is still wooded that you can kind of see in the backdrop of it.
So 20 cars on the gravel that currently exists is what you're suggesting?
There would never be, I mean, there's probably a few employees and a few cars that are being staged there. It isn't a large enough lot to be full, but I think the question was capacity. Yeah. There's enough area to fit a lot of cars, but we don't anticipate, there would be no reason to have 20 cars that are parked back there if there's only a few cars being serviced on a daily basis.
So it would be possible to alter the fence line to provide parking in a more safe situation and still have ample room behind a fence that could be a secure parking area for the vehicles that are being left there overnight.
That is a possibility, if you give me just a second.
All right. So to her question, I just
Yeah.
want to piggyback off that. So she asked you, what's the capacity, correct? It's totally fine to say you don't know. If you don't know, it's totally okay. So if you answer that question again, how would you answer that question? If she asked you the capacity. So
I don't know offhand.
Thank you. Thank you. So you can find that out.
So it just seems, by eyeballing it, it'd be pretty easy to do that. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it was the right answer. Yeah, because if you look at this, right, there's 2 here. So 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then you have a double row here. So another 10, and then pacing them, you get another 10 here. So if we just move the
So I guess to bring a little bit more information, there are obviously fleet vehicles, like some of the smaller emergency transportation vehicles, the vans and the things that bring people up to their visits. So there is a need for some turning, obviously, back in there. And I think what we talked about was that even by moving the fence back, there's still going to be a similar arrangement to what you see in the front, with the cars being parked, you know, parallel to the street. So it wouldn't really move if we were to move.
I'm thinking you can get like 40 cars back there easy. Scaling it off.
Right, and I was taking your comment to be moving this back.
Why would you have to move it all back? You've got 2, 4, 6, 8 spaces. So if you just moved back so you could get 8 spaces in, it out of 40 some odd spaces.
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to do a site design right now, but it seems to me that that's a possibility. But let's move on. So, given the configuration you have, and a moment ago you said you would ask us to consider leaving the very large curb cut and not going with the arrangement on the drawing? You're showing two curb
There are
cut overhead doors, correct?
Right, so there's currently one for each overhead door, and then there's one curb cut for the fenced-in area.
Right.
We would ask that obviously be maintained the way it is.
Which is what this is?
Correct.
Okay, so to get to these parking spaces, one would use the existing curb cut, and you're suggesting that basically people would maneuver so they would come in and out of the curb cut. But is there a raised curb anywhere along the sidewalk to prevent people from not doing that?
No, there is a raised curb along the sidewalk, and the curb cuts are what's labeled here. So we've left enough room where you would be able to pull in and still be able to back out and leave the curb cut. One of the things that the owner of G&G Auto and I discussed before the meeting was that if there is no solution to the existing configuration of the site, delineation of these parking spaces is important by way of the striping, but if there's some ability to use planters or something else that could actually separate those cars from the right of way and keep, I think, what you're talking about, people just trying to drive off that curb that's there, that would be something that could potentially add to the delineation of those
Okay, so in this image, it doesn't look like there's a curb. It looks like the sidewalk material runs right into the asphalt.
It is all raised curb, with the exception of the curb cuts that are shown on the drawing. It's a 6-inch curb.
On the property?
On the street.
No, I don't want the street. I'm talking about on the property.
Oh, on the property?
Right. Because typically when we look at circulation on the property, one of the things we're always concerned about is making sure that vehicles don't get off the asphalt and go somewhere else.
Right.
So right now, there's no separation between the public sidewalk and the asphalt where you're having cars parked.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, what I was saying is that maybe in lieu of something like a curbing, which is still going to be a tripping hazard or something else. I mean, I know one of the previous applicants talked about a train, a chain or something to separate it, but I think our interest was possibly, if it's a requirement, to add something like planter boxes, raised planter boxes, that would be more obvious than maybe a 6-inch curb to separate the area between the sidewalk and that parking space.
From a pedestrian vehicular conflict perspective, having nothing, I think, is not acceptable. So something would have to be there.
Yeah, and that also is a little bit more attractive maybe than just a daisy chain bollard idea, or it's more vertical than a 6-inch concrete curb that would be.
On the other hand, it doesn't look like you have space for a planter that anything would grow in.
Yeah, so there's, this is a 5-foot sidewalk dimension, so between the sidewalk and the parking space, there's also 5 feet. So it
Really?
could be it could be a 3 to 4 foot wide planter object.
This is what I want, this side. Yeah. Because, let me find the drawing. So someone pulls in here and they're going to park. Oop, there you go. So what are you telling me the dimension is from the parking space to the pavement, to the
concrete sidewalk?
Yeah.
5 feet.
Okay.
And I guess what I'm picturing is those fairly large round flowers.
It would seem something more permanent would be likely to last over time. But, okay. Let's see. I think that might have been it. That's it for right now. Thank you.
Additional questions? Okay, I think we're done with questions for the moment. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Provide your name and address in your comments, please.
Good evening. I'm Jeffrey Phillips. I'm the owner of the property and owner of J&J Automotive. Just want to say I've been in business in Syracuse for 32 years. I started over on West Onondaga Street on the corner of Onondaga and Midland. For 6 years, I operated there until Rite Aid came along and they wanted to acquire the property, okay? We ended up selling that property to the Palladino Group, and they put the Rite Aid, then they moved the Rite Aid across the street, and now there's a dollar store or something there on that location. Moved to West Genesee Street. I've been on the corner of West Genesee and Van Rensselaer for 26 years. To address one of the issues, people like to get to the front door. I've had numerous people call me, where do you park here? I have a sign in the parking lot across the street, okay? It's a huge sign. I mean, it's 5 foot by 12 foot, okay? People do not see that sign because it's not attached to the building. So they pull up on Genesee Street, they pull on the side, right on the corner of Van Rensselaer. They try to get as close as they can to the front door, okay? By not having parking in the front of the building, people are going to still pull up on there, whether it's grass, no matter what it is, people are going to still pull up on there. So I want to make it so that my employees aren't going to park there, I'm not going to park there. My regular customers, I have a lot of fleet accounts. I work on St. Camillus, I work on Ladin Transportation, I do all the work for Going Places Transportation and several other transportation companies. We do a lot of fleet vehicles. They're bigger vehicles. Them vehicles are never going to be parked out front. They'll always go into the parking lot. So to address your issue with the parking lot, they're a little bit bigger vehicles than the average car, so they're going to take up a lot more space in the parking lot. They do now on Genesee Street. We park them in the back of the lot just because they take up so much space, and when they put them in the middle of the lot, you can't get around the parking lot. So they need, I need space for them, and that's what the parking lot would be for. People, dropping off vehicles in the middle of the night, they're going to drop it off for the next day's service. They're going to pull up on the grass. They're going to pull up wherever they can. They're not going to leave it in the street. So asking for 8 parking spots, I'm not looking to park a whole bunch of cars. I actually gave up my dealer license this year. I'm not going to be selling cars out of there. I'm asking to allow my customers to have the convenience of pulling up in front of the building so that they can come to the front door, not have to go into the parking lot, walk all the way around, and come to the front door. People have a tendency when they pull up on the side of my building on Van Rensselaer now, they have a tendency of walking in the bay doors. Well, they're going to try to do that off the parking lot. And I have to tell people you've got to go around to the front office, okay? Like I said, I've been in Syracuse 32 years. I've dealt with the traffic, especially on Genesee Street. A lot of traffic down there. People pull right up on the corner. They don't even pull. We have a sign in the window that says pull at least 50 feet from the corner. And they'll pull right at the corner so they can get to the front of the building. And that's a safety issue. People come around the corner, don't see it. It can cause accidents and stuff like that. If they pull in front at this location, if they park in the street, it's going to create a bottleneck because they're going to try to get to the front door, and pulling in right onto the street, they're going to leave their car there. They don't care. So if I can't park there, it makes it really tough to operate a business. Plus, it's a lot of square footage of parking that has traditionally been parking for that building in the past. I'm just trying to relocate my business. I spent 2 years before I sold the building on West Genesee Street looking for a location. I had a hard time finding anything. I sold my building 2 years ago, okay? It took me, after selling the building, still took me several months to find this place. I had to get a hold of the owners, and actually the person that owned the building had a mortgage on it. I had to get a hold of the person that held the mortgage. They had to foreclose on him in order to sell the building, and it took $122,000 in back taxes. Got paid instantly once I bought the building. So now the building is back on the tax roll, okay, which it wasn't. Taxes ain't been paid in 11 years, 10, 11 years there, okay? Taxes are all paid up now, and I'm paying them currently. But I want to relocate because right now I'm paying taxes there and I'm paying rent where I'm at. 'Cause I'm still at the Genesee location. I sold it 2 years ago, but I'm still there. Because trying to find a place that was going to accommodate my fleet accounts, my customers. All my fleet accounts, if you drive around Syracuse anywhere, you'll see a St. Camillus vehicle, you'll see a Land Transportation, you'll see Going Places. It's not going to hurt with the traffic down there because they're down there. They go to the hospitals, they go to the the centers, Loretto. They're already in this area. They're driving around there. So if they're switching vehicles out, it's not going to change any of that. It just makes it convenient that my customers would have parking attached to the building, not have to go across the street anymore, not have to call me from their car and say, how do we get into your building? Had people pull into the parking lot and say, where's your building? It's we're across the street. Well, I'm here. I don't see a building anywhere. If they pull into the parking lot, they don't see the building across the street. They pull up in front of the building, where do we park? I mean, I've been dealing with it 26 years. And to address the issue of backing out into the street, if you go by my facility now, I have 5 bay doors on Van Rensselaer's side, okay? To get into my shop, we have to pull into the side of the building. And all we have is, we have less than 10 feet from the building to the street. We have to back out every day into traffic. I'm not looking to back out into traffic. I'm trying to alleviate that. I've been doing it for 26 years. We've been fortunate not only had one accident in 26 years where somebody backed out into somebody, but it's a daily struggle that we've done for 26 years, and I just don't want to do it there anymore. That's why I sold the building, and it will not be an automotive when I leave. The people that bought it are an advertising agency. They have no need to have an automotive building. So what their plans are, I don't know, but I know it's not to do what I've done. So that'll be 2 automotive buildings in Syracuse that I've actually helped close down. So there's 2 less repair shops in city of Syracuse. But this here, I think, fits, more to, the type of service that we do. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. I see no other speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed. Maybe now's a good time to pause for a little update from our earlier folks. Anything noteworthy to report?
We had a discussion in the hall, and basically everybody has their own views, they're all justified views. They covered from, they want to pick what can or can't be sold in the store, what the pricing of items will be in the store, all the way down to we don't want another store. So basically what was stated here is what was stated in the hallway. So that's kind of what was achieved through that.
So there was some dialogue, but not necessarily a meeting of the minds. Does that sound like an accurate representation of the conversation? Okay. All right, well, we appreciate the update. We appreciate the fact that you took the opportunity to have that discussion out in the hallway. You never know where that might lead sometimes. And we appreciate each of you giving it your best effort there. So this brings us back now to the 2 applications, the re-subdivision and the special permit associated with the re-subdivision. And I will ask my colleagues for their preference in terms of maintaining these hearings open or closing the hearings. And
Can we maintain the hearings open until the easement issue with the council is resolved? The encroachment? The encroachment, sorry. I knew I had the wrong word. Thank you. I mean, I assume we can.
I would assume so. I don't know if that process has even begun. Has there been an encroachment application or anything? But
it seems to be a substantial encroachment as opposed to what we typically see, which is a couple inches here, a couple of feet here. I guess I would just suggest that since it is so substantial, and there was a lot of discussion from the neighborhood, we might want to wait to hear what the council has to say. Leave the hearing open.
staff know how long that process usually takes to get from application to a hearing?
That is my concern, is that you do have to act within 62 days. So I don't know that that process would be completed within that time frame from when they. So that is my main concern. But I certainly understand that you're feeling that this is a larger encroachment than you normally deal with, and the outcome of that could affect your decision. So your options would include holding it open and maybe seeing where the process is at your next meeting, and approving with conditions, or deny without prejudice to allow a resubmittal once that is taken care of.
Or as long as the two parties agree. Can we do that? We have to find out.
And if the parties agree to keep that's true. If the parties agree to keep holding it open, that can be done as well.
Okay. You mentioned that we have to come to a conclusion within the 60 days, correct?
Yes.
How far are we with that?
Let's see, when was it? The
August
last-
5th was the initial hearing.
Oh, today is, because the hearing is, yeah, so today is day 0.
Today is day 0.
Yes. Or day 1.
Day 1.
Yeah.
So we have 59 more days.
Yeah, it's 62 days, isn't it? 62
okay.
days, yeah.
Well, you get what I was saying.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
The hearing opened 3 weeks ago. When did it start then?
But no, they're saying it's because the hearing's still open.
It's still open.
She's calling today day 1. I was wondering, is today day 1?
If you close it, that
And the clock.
clock ticks.
Right.
So if you agree to allow it to be held open, that would take care of that issue.
Yeah.
You're fine with that?
Yeah.
And how about the other party?
Just one applicant.
Yeah, there's just one answer.
Okay.
Yeah, I would recommend we keep it
It's
open.
agreeable. I'm hearing some consensus for holding the hearing open, so we will do that. The hearing will continue to be held open. Okay. Our next hearing, please.
The next public hearing is SP 1921. This is a special permit for a transitional parking lot at 1608 West Genesee Street. Kenneth Sniper is the owner and applicant, and this property lies within a residential Class C zoning district.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Thomas. I'm with Natural Systems Engineering here in Syracuse. I'm representing the owner. I think you have the site plan that was submitted for this application. The owner seeks a special permit to operate this as a parking lot for the adjoining Brooklyn Pickle restaurant. So you can see on the drawing you have there, if you look to the east of that lot is the Brooklyn Pickle. The owner had originally hoped to combine this lot with his restaurant and to have it contiguous parking. The zoning classifications wouldn't allow that, so now he hopes to create a transitional parking lot that will still serve his restaurant. Originally, he had hoped for something like 20 parking stalls to be available. Now he's down to about 11. I think as part of the application, he'll hope to get a waiver from perhaps some setback and coverage requirements, because if those are strictly enforced, he'll be down to probably so few parking spots it might not be worth the trouble and cost.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions for the applicant?
No question.
I have a question for staff. So this is like a double negative to me. I want to make sure I understand. The proposed transitional parking area is to be an accessory to the principal restaurant use on the adjacent property. And all transitional parking areas shall be accessory to one or more principal uses not situated or permitted in the district in which such parking area is proposed.
Right, so in a residential Class C zoning district,
Yes.
restaurants are not allowed, nor is it situated in that district.
So we can have a transitional parking area.
Yes, contained on its own property.
Got it. Just read it like 10 times. Sure I wasn't doing that right. Thank you.
Further questions? Yes, thank you very much. That's a good point. Your application as it stands now requires 4 different waivers from the zoning ordinances, and we would ask you to provide a rationale for each of the requested waivers to justify what's being requested. Can you walk us through those 4?
Okay. Actually, I didn't bring that sheet up there with me. I think the first one is for the setback.
Setback, exactly, yes.
And so that would cause a loss of 3 parking. That takes an 11-stall parking lot down to 8. The percent coverage requirement would then take it even more parking stalls. So after we did that, we'd be down to 60% coverage of impervious surface. To get down to the 40%, I think, which is the number, would require loss of even more parking. So now we're down to, I don't know, 5 stalls or something. And then I think...
Driveway location?
Driveway location is existing, and there's really no way to move it because there's a utility pole there and an underground manhole of some sort.
And the last one is the landscape buffer requirement.
Right. That one was for...
Should be 30 feet.
30 feet. Oh, well, again, that was, I think that's still set back from the road, right? So that was also resulted in the loss of...
Do you need, what paper were you saying you left? Do you need something to look at?
I had the comments that I got from Jeff. I can grab them, but I think that last one was also a similar requirement, right? It was a setback issue from the...
Well, not just that it's set back, but that space is...
Oh, it would be
buffer.
It would be a green space buffer, right? So yeah, that is the same issue as far as we're concerned.
Okay, thank
The
you.
building's still standing?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Additional questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward.
Ken Sniper, owner of the Brooklyn Pickle. Been in business 44 years, 42 years on the west side. Started off kitty corner from where I'm at, in a little, about a 20-foot wide of, it was a burned dairy till recently. So I was in there before burned dairy. I moved across the street, it was a boarded up gas station. If you drive by, you'd never know it was a gas station. There's wrought iron on the roof and palladium windows, et cetera, et cetera. Proud of what we've accomplished over there. About 6 years ago, I bought a building next door to me and knocked it down. I was able to put a $1.2 million addition on, which greatly enhanced the efficiency of the building. The building I bought was an insurance company, and I was able to use that to improve the business. I just bought another building that was an insurance company. I'm told I cannot use that to increase the property, the parking. So I was trying to take 10 feet of my land that was the Brooklyn Pickle property and merge it with the other one, but this is zoned residential C, although the other insurance company, I guess, wasn't. And so, so then I can't get 20 parking spots, so now we're down to 10 or 13. Paid over $100,000 for the building, trying to alleviate a problem, as I've done on my Burnett Avenue store. We recently opened up a store in North Syracuse that's very well received. People seem to love the Brooklyn Pickle. Started off on $2,200 in a 13-foot wide front right corner of a building on Burnett Avenue. So I'm just trying to alleviate a problem and do some parking. And again, right now there's the building that was there was an insurance company, and they had a little parking in the front. They have a little parking in the back. Next door is a church, big parking lot. Funeral home across the street with parking. Just trying to get a little more parking, help everybody out, and spending a lot of money to do it. But I'm a community guy, is my line that I always say.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Other individuals who might wish to speak in favor of this application, please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. We don't seem to have any additional speakers, so we'll declare this hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
The next public hearing is the street abandonment. This is S-1901. This is a proposal to abandon a portion of Tracy Street. Erie Place Associates LLC is the petitioner, and the City of Syracuse is the owner.
Hello. I'm Martin McDermott. I'm representing Erie Place Associates in regards to the street abandonment of the 400 block of Tracy Street. Erie Place Associates owns property surrounding this portion of Tracy Street, which is at the intersection of Van Rensselaer Street. It encompasses approximately 5,500 square feet or 0.13 acres. Currently, it is an unimproved gravel portion of the street. It does not it's not actively used as a portion. Through the Tracy Street is actually a 4-block street that goes from Van Rensselaer to West Street, and from West Street on, significant portions of this extra portion of Tracy Street have been abandoned and sold to the adjacent property owners, including the predecessors of the current property. Erie Place Associates, just adjacent to the proposed abandonment, was previously a portion of Tracy Street and was abandoned, is now owned by the applicant. The applicant is looking to have it abandoned and improved at the expense of the owners in order to provide what would be about 18 additional parking spaces on site in order to service a few of the major employers that are in that building that require on-site parking for the facility. The owners do have a significant parking lot across the street. However, the employers being the VA, the Syracuse, and Communication Services for the Deaf have certain requirements within their programming and need to be located there to have some on-site where parking where individuals or visitors don't have to cross the street. Some of it's handicap related, though these particular spaces wouldn't necessarily be handicapped. What we're proposing is to be able to free up some existing spaces that are adjacent on a lot right to the south of this, moving those designated spots down there in order to free up some handicaps and create some additional handicap spaces on site on this western portion. In addition to this, the property owners there's going to be some additional street work that's being proposed by the DPW, and we'll be participating in with the reconstruction of the sidewalks and curbing along Rensselaer and Erie Boulevard West. We're awaiting for the DPW to begin and commence their portion of the curbing and corner and the corner redoing. And as part of that, and as part of our proposed site plan, you'll see that we're looking to enhance that corner and tie it back into this abandonment portion as well, so that the continuation of sidewalks that currently don't exist, they're just asphalts, and there's no curbing, can be created along the Erie Boulevard, the Van Rensselaer, and then tie over to the north portion of Tracy Street, where they have already been improved, and just to improve the general character of what this particular city-owned portion of the street, unused city-owned portion of the street is today, which really is not a very appealing condition. We would look to the precedent of, as I mentioned, not just the property behind their existing building on the 600 block, on the 400 block, but they're most recently on the 300 block of Tracy Street. A similar portion was abandoned for the reconstruction of a property that brought in apartments as well as one commercial use on the first floor. And in particular, that abandonment was used for diagonal parking for the use of that owner. So that's the similar type of use that we'll be looking to do there. Any other questions?
Are there questions for the applicant? Thank you for that summary.
I do have a question for staff, because maybe you all read something I couldn't quite understand. Staff, there was one historical note in the paperwork about part of that this has been abandoned in different sections over time. Was there ever a question about the Planning Commission approving an abandonment? Did I misread the note? Right.
It's in the comments by, I think, the engineering department. It says engineering, water, and the planning commission did not recommend some previous one.
Yeah, all abandonments ultimately go to the council for
That's right.
action, and the action by this body would be advisory or recommendation. Right.
They hold their own public hearing as well. The council.
So there was a full public hearing. The council approved it, even though the departments and planning commission had said they wouldn't. I'm trying to clarify that.
Well, I mean, I could investigate that for you. I don't know.
That may not sway the planning commission tonight. I'm just curious if we can clear it up.
Yeah, it's on under the mapping division's comments, Ray Wills. It says towards the bottom of the page before it gets cut off, engineering, water department, and the planning commission all went on record, recommended the abandonment be denied prior to the common council approving it. Sees common council ordinance, yada, 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 2002, copy attached. It just seems someone's asserting we did not recommend at least one previous abandonment request.
Then around 2002.
It's right. It says it's common council ordinance. Right. Okay.
I'm assuming that's a date for us.
There might have been one that was closed administratively, but, I mean, if you want, I can look into that specific ordinance that he's speaking of. Typically, if the planning commission doesn't recommend approval, it doesn't get on the common council. So I would have to look at what he's talking about. I didn't investigate any other abandonments along the street. We were just focusing on this one and trying to, move this along to get on the agenda. So I can do that.
But the precedent we could follow is that the common council has approved other sections of the road being abandoned. They have approved.
They have, yes.
Okay.
Effectively, the street is closed from Plum on the east, crossing Van Rensselaer and moving to the west. I mean, all of that's abandoned at this point? Or is it just portions of the blocks between Plum and Van Rensselaer?
There's a small gap behind one building, but from Visions Credit Union, which is at Plum, that was abandoned for Visions. There's a small one that currently is not abandoned. I had a map in my things that would show you.
This is the color-coded one?
Yeah. So, yeah, you'll see a little gap right there. No, it's not a use of the road. It's just not abandoned. What my belief is that the Tracy Street, because there's still some rail lines there, is this portion of Tracy Street had some sort of a rail on it, and that's why it was wider than it was ever used, never used as a road. And when that rail was abandoned, they slowly started getting rid of that portion because effectively Tracy Street is a lot narrower than it is. Its use is a lot narrower than its actual mapping. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 abandonments of Tracy Street, with the applicant's current one being right at the corner, and then there is still a very small one behind another building that is not a road. It's just an overgrown portion of the Tracy Street that the applicant obviously has never had a use for.
So the uncolored area adjacent to these smaller strips, you're saying that's where there were rail lines originally?
Yeah, there's still rail lines on this portion. In fact, you'll see that on the survey. There's some existing rail line spurs. It's not consistent, but a portion of it still has rail lines. So that's what leads me to believe is that's what this whole portion of Tracy Street was used for in the past.
Further questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak against the application, please come forward.
Hi, my name is James Ranelli. I reside at 1200 State Fair Boulevard in Syracuse, New York. I own the former United Auto Supply, currently City Electric, and I also did the redevelopment of what is now Marcellus Commons. A couple things I wanted to go over briefly. First of all, I appreciate the reason we're here because there is a big parking problem on Tracy Street. However, I'm not in favor of the way it's being gone about and letting cars just pull out into Tracy Street and also the corner of Tracy Street and Van Rensselaer. We have gone through our 2 properties that are directly neighboring this one to kind of show those of you that aren't familiar. This is Erie Boulevard. I own this property, which is City Electric, and I did this redevelopment of the former Marcellus Commons. As you will see, we put the fencing and all new sidewalks, curbing, grass lines, all as we were asked to by zoning when getting the property approved. We also, when we bought this property had parking that all went out into Van Rensselaer. We were asked to eliminate, and I think now that you can see everything done, I think it was the right move. The problem is not just on the corner here where he wants to add these 18 spots, I believe you said. It's all up and down Tracy Street because there's the Dietz redevelopment, there's the 538 Erie Boulevard redevelopment. All of that snow goes out into Tracy Street, meaning there's nowhere to contain the snow from these 18 spots that will get pushed to our side of the road. We also had parking all along Tracy Street, and we were asked to take it out and a redevelopment and addition on the property. So we were told, no way. I want to stress again, this development I did here houses AMR, who is the ambulance company, I'm sure all of you know. And we get calls because this corner gets so clogged with neighbors pushing snow out into it that we've been removing with our property management company snow so that we have access to our property because these guys push it out. I'm not sure why recently we weren't brought up to speed on this project. We had back in March of 2016, we were asked to work with the developer on coming up with a concept, which I will hand out real quick. This concept would be in compliance with what we've been asked to do on our property. Thank you. And also what we believe to be a good solution for the area. It will not fix Tracy Street. Those other projects down the road will still be a problem, but it will not contribute and make it worse than it already is. And I think when we're done, I believe the sketch that was submitted for the planning board had about 65 spots total on it. Mine has 72. It was presented back in March of 2016. Why it didn't get traction, I'm not really sure. And I got some more pictures of, I don't mean to bore you, but here's some more pictures of.
Just give me one.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch. Where we took parking out, we put landscaping, shrubbery, bushes, and then there's some pictures back in here actually of the road being shut down by tractor trailers due to congestion. Because it does get, snow is the part of our lives here in Syracuse. So you can see with the illegal parking, and I don't, this parking will just contribute to the problem. I am all for a solution. I think it's great for the area, and I appreciate being here talking about it, but I'm not in favor of the layout that was presented.
Okay, thank you.
These pictures.
Leaving these here,
Yeah, you
the
guys-
record, okay.
Thank you.
Are there other individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come forward. We don't have any additional speakers, but there's an opportunity to address some of these comments.
Could I just see
The 2016 proposal.
Here now, this is for you guys. Okay, so I need to go back to this other thing.
I'm sorry, I didn't know you didn't have a copy of that.
Oh, no,
I would
it's
have
okay.
given you one.
Not a problem.
And we'd be more than happy to meet with you.
Oh, thank you.
For any feedback or anything on the project.
The only two things I'd like to just to rebut to a certain degree is there was mentioning that neighboring properties are pushing snow there. It's not us. We're the neighboring property, and this is a retaining wall that's 3 feet, so snow from our property is not going into that portion. I don't know who else. We own this entire block of the southern portion of Tracy Street, and the rest of that is not currently, right now it's trees and stones, so there's no parking. And so I don't know where that snow is coming from. And so the only reason snow may get accumulated there is because there's this cutout that's not a road and it's not anything. So people may push it there. So if it's eliminated, it would certainly take that away. If we were to own it, it would become our property, and we would be responsible for removing the snow. Because per our plan, if we have no place for the snow, like in other parking lots that we have, we would remove the snow. We can't push it anywhere. If we did push it, it would be pushed onto our property, and it would reduce the parking, but that's not something that we're looking to do. The other thing that I'd like to talk to you about, too, is Tracy Street itself. This is not a thoroughfare. It's a 4 block parcel that, yes, does have some redevelopment with deeds, and it does have city electric on the other side. But those, Tracy Street is not a main entrance to those. It's not a main entrance to ours. It's not a main entrance to any of the buildings. It's not very well heavily traveled. The pictures with the tractor trailer trucks, I can't imagine where they're coming from and what they're servicing, because it's a office building, and it's a city electric that occupies the building across the street. They have their loading docks and their deliveries off the other street further down. So I just don't want to have you think that there's this perception that Tracy Street is just this crowded street. Perhaps it might be best to convert it to a one-way street, but I don't know who determines that, because there's not enough traffic necessarily to do.
We don't do one-way streets.
So whether that's your purview or not, but again, we're just looking at precedent of abandonment, precedent of parking, and being able to accommodate some tenants that we really need to be able to accommodate that are major employers here in the city. So the other issues, and in regards to this plan, I have no comment. I don't know exactly. Obviously, this is a much larger project of a complete redevelopment, demolition of a building, and regrading of the lot. But our intention is just to focus on the application that we've submitted today.
Real quick, sorry. So I just want to be clear about the snow. There's no snow being piled there. As you guys know, when you plow the road, half the snow goes one way, half snow goes the other. Where would all that snow go? I appreciate the comment about removing snow, but in the middle of these snowstorms, let's be honest, it doesn't happen. And as far as Tracy Street not being a main artery, I own what you see on the corner here is a 80,000 square foot distribution center, which there is two means of access into the property. Tracy Street is from Tracy. And Tracy Street is also the main entrance to this complex through Van Rensselaer, which is also a main artery. So I beg to differ on Tracy Street not being a busy, congested street.
But that piece of Tracy, though, has been abandoned, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you have access off of Van Rensselaer?
We have access off of Van Rensselaer.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. With no further questions, I think we'll declare the hearing closed. We will move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is R 1951. This is a re-subdivision. This is to combine 4 properties into one new lot at 103, 105, 107 Central Avenue and 632 Gifford Street rear. Mr. Kenny Syracuse and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants, and these properties lie within a residential Class AA zoning district.
My name is Taisha Martin. I'm with Northeast Holly Development Association. I'm here on behalf of 103, 105, and 107 Central Avenue, as well as 632 Gifford Street rear. 103 Central Avenue and 632 Gifford Street rear were acquired by the Land Bank in the spring and summer of 2014. The lot at 103 Central is not buildable and measures 36 by 80 square feet. The lot at 632 Gifford Street rear is buildable and measures 33 by 20 square feet. Rather than leave the property vacant, the Land Bank would like to sell the lot to the owner of 105 and 107 Central Avenue, Mr. Kenny Syracuse. We believe the resale will provide more defensible space and increase the homeowner's property value, and the homeowner will pay taxes on the land and maintain the property. And we think this is in the best interest of the neighborhood.
Just a clarification.
Sure. It's okay.
mentioning.
33 by 20, perhaps?
That was it,
Buildable
down
lot?
there, yes.
It's way down.
In your, the submitted justification, and then what you just said. So 103, in this, it says 103 is a buildable lot, measuring 36 by 80.
It is 36 by 80, and it's not buildable.
It's not buildable.
It is not buildable.
Okay, so it says buildable. Okay, but then the adjacent property is smaller, 33 by 20, but you say that is buildable.
It's really, really small.
I mean, it seems like it shouldn't be.
Like, it shouldn't be buildable,
Okay,
but
so-
it's documented in the thing.
So is this a typo then, that they both should be not buildable because of their size?
Yeah.
36 by 80, and the other one's 33 by 20.
That's correct.
Yes?
So
It's a very small space.
that term is thrown around a lot. If it's an existing lot and it's recorded in a deed or through a re-subdivision, if it's recorded in a deed prior to March 16th, 1962, then it is you can build a single-family house so long as it does not exceed or encroach upon any required yards or is has enough, does not exceed the lot coverage, etc. So you could build a single-family house. So sometimes people throw out the word not buildable, and that's not necessarily true. So I just wanted to clarify that in case you were wondering.
In terms of the definition of buildable with respect to the ordinance, not like construction convention.
Right, and I'm not sure what you're actually referring to, but as far as if you wanted to build a single-family house on a lot,
That's 33 by 20.
that's right. So if you did not encroach into any of the yards, and you also did not exceed the structural coverage, you could build a single-family house.
Barbie could have a mansion on a lot like that. 30.
I'm saying, except for one of Andrew's small houses, how are you getting something on a 33 by 20 foot lot? Given how we typically have yard requirements.
Right. I'm just trying to clarify. You all brought up buildable versus non-buildable.
Right.
That's not really a term that we use in zoning. All I'm
Okay.
saying is that it wouldn't be
Anything could be buildable if you met
so
those
long
criteria.
as it met those other parameters in the zoning district that applies to that particular property.
You could certainly consider the neighborhood, the size of the
Well,
homes.
yeah, I'm going to go back to my favorite stuff. You know how I feel about this. So we are supposed to consider lot size, width, depth, shape, and orientation. Although I'm going to say something that's going to make Catherine upset later at the end of the meeting. But so it would seem this is a fairly unique situation on Central Ave where there is no true pattern on the block.
No.
To be consistent with. So, buildable aside. I have no question. I'm done.
Questions for the applicant? Good. Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed. Move to our next hearing.
Hearing is R 1952. This is a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 200 to 204 and 210 Waverly Avenue. Syracuse University is the owner and the applicant, and these lie within a planned institutional district.
Good evening, Chairperson Kulik and members of the Planning Commission. Jennifer Bybee, Assistant Director for Campus Planning with Syracuse University. The office address is 1320 Jamesville Avenue. The re-subdivision application before you tonight is for the parcels on which the Shine Student Center is located. You might recall that your commission approved a project plan approval on February 19th for the renovation of that building, which is currently underway. And as a side note, just to refresh your memories, mainly an interior renovation, although there are some exterior improvements to add more light into the building, adding more glass to the facade, etc. The re-subdivision application before you tonight, as we understand it, is really not a zoning issue per se. It's essentially a cleanup issue. It was discovered that there's a vestigial parcel line that is the situation, and there's a sort of parcel straddle issue going on with the building. Both of the parcels are owned and controlled by the university and have been since before the structure was built. It was simply that no one had ever noticed it before. So after we consulted with the city zoning office and the city permit office and also with city corporation council staff, the city requested that the university pursue this re-subdivision application, as I said, mainly to clean it up. It's not something that has real import. It's sort of a paper issue.
Questions? All right, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers. We'll declare the hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is R-1953. This is a re-subdivision to combine two properties into one new lot at 218 and 220 Merriman Avenue. Patricia Blackman and the Greater Syracuse Property Development Corporation are the owners and applicants, and these also lie within a residential Class AA zoning district.
So 218 Merriman Street was acquired by the Land Bank.
You, just for the record, give your name and address, please.
Taisha Martin, Northeast Holly Development Association. 218 Merriman Street was acquired by the Land Bank in January of 2016. The lot measures 50.17 by 132 square feet. Rather than leave the property vacant, the Land Bank would like to sell the lot to the owner of 220 Merriman Street, Ms. Patricia Blackman. We believe that this would be in the best interest of the neighborhood and the community.
Questions for the applicant? Okay, we are all set. Thank you. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No further speakers. We'll declare this hearing closed. Move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is 3S 1908. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision in the town of Salina. This is to combine 8 properties into one new lot at 103, 113 Luther Avenue and 113, 117 7th North Street. UniFirst Corporation is the owner and applicant.
Thank you. If the applicant is here, please come forward. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. So no speakers or presenters. Is the application complete as far as we can determine?
Yes.
Then we'll declare this hearing closed and move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is 3S 1910. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision review in the town of Manlius. This is to divide one parcel into 2 new lots. Medical Center Drive is the address, and it's DB Real Estate of Fayetteville, LLV, the owner and applicant.
The applicant is here. Please come forward to present the proposal. I don't see an applicant. Are there any individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application? Please come to the podium. And is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? Please come forward. No speakers in this instance. The application, I presume, is complete as determined by the staff, so we'll declare the hearing closed. Move to our next hearing.
Next public hearing is 3S 1911. This is a 3-mile limit subdivision review in the town of DeWitt. This is to combine 2 properties into one new lot at 4032 and 4036 Newcourt Avenue, and Self Storage Newcourt LLC is the owner and applicant.
If the applicant is here, please come forward, excuse me, to present the application. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium. Is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come forward. So I presume this application in all respects is complete as reviewed by the staff. So we'll close the hearing without having had any speakers. That completes our hearing schedule. We have additional business. Our practice is to scroll back through the hearings that we completed and closed this evening to determine if there is consensus for action one way or the other on each of these proposals. Given the complexity and anticipated discussion perhaps on a few of these, I'm going to suggest we do our normal routine. However, leapfrogging over those where no parties are present with an interest in the application so as not to hold you here any longer than is necessary. And we can have our extended discussions later if there is such a thing. So with that, let me scroll down, and I think the first of these would then be SP-19-20, the special permit proposed for the Valley Drive location. Number 4 on the agenda, 1400 block of Valley Drive. So this is a special permit. We talked about comments from the departments and much of that revolving around parking and delineation of parking and so forth. Is there a motion on this application?
Move approval of the negative declaration, but our discussion about the parking, there was on record some discussion of I think the phrase we used was capacity a few times about the parking, because what was in the rear is to remain separate from what's in the front. And I think there was a justification as to why they would keep fleet vehicles or employee parking separate from the parking for the public. But I would move approval with a negative declaration, granting them waiver on the parking, subject to the conditions we had on our record tonight, including the use of planters or curb stops to separate the roadway and the parking area.
Yep. And just to clarify, a parking waiver is not necessary. It's a signage.
Yes, signage.
So the only waiver pertained to the signage, correct?
Signage and the square footage of the
Right.
sign.
There are no parking requirements for motor vehicle repair shops in the zoning ordinance. The decision would rest upon what the applicant is requesting versus what the commission feels is necessary in order to conduct business in a manner consistent with the special permit use. That's how it has been done in the past. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
No minimum parking requirement for a light-duty auto shop.
Correct.
Still would like to maintain the conditions about the proper curb stops or something to divide
Yes.
curb and roadway. And I'm always open to friendly amendments. On the issue of the sign, we did hear a justification for the granting a waiver for the signage.
Okay. Can you go over what you'd like to see as far as planters, curb stops, and any curbing or anything else.
Any thoughts?
This is the area outside of the fenced-in parking area, but between the sidewalk and the building itself, and I think you're talking about something to prevent the cars that are dropped off in front of the building from going every which way on the property, but to designated and apparently striped, we heard, spaces.
So they have an issue going to the back. I would wonder.
Just my recommendation was, not my recommendation, my concern was that without a physical barrier between the sidewalk material and the pavement material, that there's a pedestrian vehicular conflict, and something permanent that is a physical barrier of some sort. A raised curb, planters were suggested. Like, at a minimum, there has to be something physically to protect the pedestrians on the public sidewalk.
So we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion with inclusive of the waiver for the sign waiver and conditions pertaining to barriers between the sidewalk and the parking area along the front of the building, designated parking areas. Is there discussion? More discussion?
I just feel that with some time to more thoroughly examine all of the space on the site, that there could be a better solution for customer parking, as opposed to parking in the front of the building along a public sidewalk. That's just my concern, and I think sometime there could be a design solution that would avoid that situation. But I think there's a motion on the floor, and we should vote on it.
I just have a question of the applicant, if this might help. The floor plan and the site plan did not indicate the actual customer entrance. The floor plan is lacking some doors and et cetera. So I think if someone could come up and maybe explain where and how a customer on foot would get into the building, whether it's through the actual front or the side of that small addition, that would be helpful.
The front entrance is on this corner of the building. So there'll be a new door and storefront windows installed in the portion that would be accessible to the customer, which is the portion.
Okay. So if exterior work is being done, it needs to be part of this submittal, part of the package. I didn't see where you pointed. Is it fronting on the street? Okay.
And it's, I think they're like quarters now, so it's like the glass.
Your existing frames?
Yeah, the windows are existing, but they were boarded over, so we had to replace the windows. So I guess it's not exactly a
Alteration.
modification, right? Two doors.
And there are bays elsewhere?
There's another overhead door that accesses this parking lot, but otherwise it's just a open
So there's
floor.
two on the front and one on the,
Correct.
whatever direction we're looking at, south? North?
Correct, north.
Okay.
Question for staff, if there was to be a change in the bay doors or the entryway door, would that have to come back before the commission?
Yeah, it would be a minor
That would
modification.
be a minor modification.
Mhm. Well, let me rephrase that. Depends. I can't really give a blanket answer to that, but most likely if it's just an exterior change of the building, if it does not take away parking or change the physical nature of the site in some way, then it possibly, most likely would be a minor modification.
Just a change because of the age of the building and perhaps the condition of the material. They look at these frames, they start to put the glass in and say, oh, we have a problem. They look at the door and say, oh, these bay doors aren't going to work anymore.
Right. Well, that would have to come back.
Okay.
Special permit looks at everything, so if there are exterior changes that really should have been part of the package, you didn't indicate that in your application.
Bay door, I'm just using this, it's like the bay door doesn't work, it's going to be replaced in kind. And I don't know in the special permit, like if you have a white garage door there and replace it with a white garage door, that's a building permit, or you're saying that's got to come back if you're replacing it in kind with the same door.
I'm saying if there's any exterior alterations to the building, the special permit looks at that as well as the use.
There is no current alterations other than the existing windows that were boarded up, so people are breaking in the area. Our new windows are being put in the code, and the door is being replaced with the same type of door, meets energy code. So there's no other change. The brick is remaining brick. The brown paint is the brown paint. It's just the boarded up windows aren't going to be boarded up windows anymore. So if that should have been in there, we should have put in all that.
Exactly.
Correct.
Sorry, for example, one of the bars, okay.
Comments? Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? The special permit is approved. And I don't see any of the other applicants around.
She left.
Wrap it up.
Right.
The woman from SU left. But I think she knows who's going to get approved.
Okay, so we are now looking at the special permit on East Brighton Ave, SP-19-17. And this was a continuation hearing from earlier in the month. We closed the hearing this evening and had speakers for and against. And we had updated information as well. Is there a motion on this application?
I'd like to ask a point of clarification. So for the special permits, right, plural, gasoline station and restaurant, in addition to, there are a variety of things that we have to consider regarding the issuance of the special permits, and then in addition to that, there are waivers being requested, correct?
What was the first thing?
If there were no waivers, we still have to review and approve?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And in doing so, again, set the waivers aside for a minute, we can condition an approval.
Yes.
So I would move, reluctantly, to approve the application on the condition that the Thurber Ave access is not included, and that the waivers are granted with the understanding that it's been called a number of things, the ground sign, the monument sign, whatever that item is, that is what Mr. Bouchard described as 12 feet some odd inches high, not the original proposal. So granting those three waivers, as long as that's what we have in the application for that one sign, and not allowing the access on Thurber with a negative declaration.
discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The special permit on Brighton Ave is approved with the conditions noted. And with that, I guess we are at liberty to resume our orderly progression through the hearing agenda, which in this case would be number 5, the special permit on West Genesee Street, SP-19-21, the project next door to the Brooklyn Pickle. Is there a motion on this?
Again, a point of clarification before we move ahead. So the requirements are for a 30-foot setback, but also that that setback be a landscaped whatever. And they're proposing nothing, essentially. I mean, it's a smidge,
I think
right?
it's 9.5 feet.
9.5 feet.
And they may have intended 10 feet, because I've talked to Kyle about this, but I measured 9.5 on the site plan. I don't know if it was by design or by oversight.
Okay. And the 30 feet is dictated by, is it written in the ordinance as 30 feet, or does it have something to do with the adjacent property setback?
It's in the residential class C zoning district regulations.
So that is 30 feet. It's a specific number. It's not like the average of the properties on either
Right,
side.
and I
did
did double check that because I had questioned that myself. In other districts, we do use the average.
So much has happened to that poor block. And he's getting a total of 11 spaces out of this, correct?
Let's see.
Isn't it 11? I'm sorry, I thought I counted.
9 or 10.
That's okay.
I'm scrolling to count, but I'm not doing a really good job.
11, yes.
Okay, and without anyone spending a lot of time on this, whenever the restaurant went in, with that, whatever number of spaces they have, was there a waiver granted for that? Like, is there a demonstrated need that they all along should have had more spaces, and this is how he's getting some of them?
Right. I am assuming there was a waiver. Actually, we might have that case with us. Jeff does not have that case with us. But it's a good question.
Okay.
Well, there was the original restaurant, and then there was the expansion that he mentioned. So
That's
who
right.
knows at what point that would have come into
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
It could have been initially or could have been later.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I do too.
Where's that area? That's maybe what I'm looking for. Or did I look this up? There it is. Okay. So the parking for the current restaurant is already up close to the public sidewalk. Good Lord.
Consistent.
I move approval with a negative declaration, reluctantly granting the waivers.
Second. No, sorry. Second.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That special permit is approved. We're now to the street abandonment on Tracy Street. Proposed street abandonment. We had the presentation, we had a speaker opposed. We have comments from the city departments. Now this was the one where we had the question going back to 2002, which might have a bearing on this if we knew what the...
But didn't we recently approve some abandonment on Tracy?
We did,
Like-
for the United Radio
It seems like we've done it a couple of times
Several.
since I've been here,
Yeah,
so.
We have. And yet, in this instance, DPW and
They're still,
engineering are objecting or do not recommend it. Did they weigh in on the last time?
Not that
I don't recall seeing this comment before.
I don't either.
There are many,
It is, because we go by our precedent.
Yeah.
The gentleman who appeared tonight in opposition has benefited once from an abandonment.
Yes, he has.
So, just in all fairness, we put that out there.
Yeah.
So this is really difficult, because like I said, I saw this note, and I don't recall this being brought up to the commission before, that the departments and the commission in the past had a problem with it.
I agree.
That's right. So I'm actually just wondering if we reopen this.
Why not, and check out the history of it.
Let's do that.
And then a second.
Second.
More discussion on that motion to reopen. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
wait, I missed that. What did you do?
We're
When you weren't looking, we reopened the
I
hearing.
found, he did bring files for Tracy Street. There are other ones on the 400 block. But you're reopening. Okay, go ahead.
The motion to
Keep going.
reopen.
Walter.
And I second.
George, second.
You're, okay.
So I think what we're doing, so we don't have to do it at, oh my heavens, 9 o'clock at night, is maybe if you could just tell us the history of when those city departments may have objected in the past and whether or not we ever agreed with them. And if those circumstances are somehow different from the folks who benefited, as Walter pointed out most recently, when we agreed to an abandonment. And then that way we can maybe be consistent. Is that what you're getting at?
Right.
Okay. So, there you go.
Right now?
No.
You're all looking at me like.
No,
Please.
I mean, I can go through those really quick, but I don't know.
That's the reason for the motion. The motion is
Okay.
To
Yes.
reopen.
And we voted to reopen.
Sure.
for that history.
Yeah. Did we vote? We voted.
not
Got
vote
it.
yet.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
we did not vote.
So further discussion or clarification about what we're trying to do? Then all in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that hearing's been reopened to gather more information. And that now brings us to Gifford Street, the re-subdivision R-19-51.
I would approve with a negative declaration noting that there is no true established pattern on that block of Central Avenue, and therefore the new lot is reasonable/appropriate.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. We now move to the University Area Re-subdivision R-19-52 to correct an apparent oversight no one had noticed previously, but this will bring things up to date. Is there a motion on this re-subdivision?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. Our next re-subdivision is R-19-53 on Merriman Ave in the 200 block. We had a presentation from Anita representative, no other speakers. Is there a motion on this?
Move to approve with a negative declaration noting that previously several other large lots have already been created on this block, and so the pattern has already been, the established pattern has already been disrupted. And this new large lot, therefore, won't have an impact.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That re-subdivision is approved. We are now at the first of our three-mile limit cases in the town of Salina, 3S-19-08. Is there, no speakers on this one, but is there a motion for this 3-mile limit case?
I move approval with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That is approved. We move to our next one now in the town of Manly is 3S-19-10. Is there a motion on this?
Sorry. Motion to approve with a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? That one is approved. And now our final 3-mile limit case of the night, this one in the town of DeWitt, 3S-19-11. Is there a motion on this?
I move approval of the negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? I think that covers all the hearings tonight that have been closed. And that moves us now down into the minor modification business. And looks like we have one item here, Heather.
Yes, this is a minor modification to a previously approved special permit, SB 0712. This is modification number 3. Special permit modification for a restaurant for floor plan signage and elevations at 500 to 506 Westcott Street. Mr. Ladybug LLC is the owner. Divine Inc. is the applicant, and it lies within a business class A zoning district. The scope of work includes modifying the floor plan to reduce seating for one booth from 5 seats to 4, modify the signage on the Westcott and Dell Street elevations to replace 4-wall signs, reducing the area from 132.35 square feet to 42.37, and modify the modify the elevation, replacing an aluminum or stainless steel fascia with cement board fascia, replacing the IFAS with cement clapboards, relocating condensers from the roof to the ground, adding an air conditioning unit, and altering an addition.
The roof line.
Oh, how are we altering the addition? Okay. The proposal does not require any new or expanded waivers. So if you look at the sheets A2 and A2.1, they will give you a good idea of exactly what's happening here.
You're altering the roof line to go from, it's either flat to angled or angled to flat. So it was approved as a flat roof line, and now it's an angled roof line.
Just showing different elevations as before them. Okay.
So while you're looking at that,
Yeah.
there has been this purported other project that's supposed to happen in the parking lot right in front of this.
Right.
So is this applicant going to be coming back in again to completely alter this elevation of the building again?
Perhaps. We did receive an application. It was incomplete. It did not have all the information necessary. Also, it encroached into the required yard on Dell, so a variance was necessary. We have not received that yet. But if the new building is built up to this one, then yes, that alteration that fronts on Westcott will change and need to be...
Well, it'll either be non-existent because
Well,
it's
it
going
will
to
be
be on
non-
top of it.
Unless they have some kind of alleyway or something between there, but...
Because it's all one property.
That's correct, it is. Mhm.
Okay, anyway. Not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure the at-grade units are already in because I walked by not long ago and I think they're already in. Yeah. They're real pretty too. I move approval with a negative declaration.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? That's approved. We have a couple of items of new business, both pertaining to seeker.
Yes, so there is a type 1 action. We've received an application, a project site review, and a re-subdivision for a project that is on 5 different properties on Prospect Avenue. It's across from St. Joseph Health Center, and the proposal is to demolish 5 residential structures, combine those properties into one, and build a 6-story hotel that includes a commercial 2 stories of parking, half of the story is underground, a commercial space on the first floor, an unidentified commercial space, 90 rooms in the hotel, and 24 market rate apartments in that structure. Also, there will be a sky bridge that connects this, I want to say the 3rd story. It's a 20-foot high sky bridge from ground to the bottom to the hospital. So it is a type 1 action, and as such...
This is not in, there's a PID over there, right?
St. Joe's is a PID,
But
yes.
this land is not part
This
of
is
the
business
PID.
class A. Yes, so... all right, that's a good question. If this connects to the PID, how does that affect
There's
things?
a sky bridge.
If anything. Yes.
Sorry, kids.
No, good question.
But it is a type 1 action.
It is a type 1 action, so this body, as far as I can tell at the moment, has the most discretion. I put this on your agenda to declare that it's a type 1 action, and declare yourself to act as lead agency under seeker. I will, if you do that, I will then send out the coordinator review letters accordingly, and the project will come in after the 30 days has passed, if not sooner, and it will be scheduled, those 2 items on your agenda accordingly.
So moved.
Discussion?
Before we vote, is there anything that could change that would, in other words, we would be lead agency regardless of the type of action?
Right.
Would there be anything that would change our ability?
Somebody contests it, like side up.
Right, if another board
Yes.
or another agency that I send a letter to says no, there could be that issue. If they change the commercial, the unidentified, well, I think they told me today it would be office. But if, say, they change it to a restaurant and it needs a special permit, the review type would change, but it would still come to this body.
Correct, okay.
And it still would be a type 1 action.
It still would be a
So
type
under
1
seeker,
action.
it's still going to be type 1 action, so.
Okay, other questions? Discussion?
Okay. Oh, yes, you have to vote.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that is approved as lead agency, and do we have one more?
Yes, so this is the opposite. This is, the Common Council has requested to act as lead agency for the new zoning ordinance, and they have sent out coordinated review letters, of which this body received one, the BZA and the Onondaga County Planning Board, sorry. So they are the legislative body that must be lead agency
Adopt
for a
those.
new zoning ordinance. But I do have the form to sign if you consent to, for them to act as lead agency under seeker for that project.
Okay. So that would be an official vote by this board. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So now we have a motion on the floor. This, because we're a municipality seeking to change the zoning ordinance, the courts have said it would have to be someone like the Common Council. A body like the Common Council would have to be the lead agency.
Correct.
Just putting that on the record, that we recognize.
So we have no.
So this is just, it's a formality to it.
Recognize that by law, this is the proper procedure to follow.
Correct.
Also, the city charter would give the council the ultimate adoption power with this action.
Thank you.
Other questions or discussion on this? And all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? So that too is approved. We acquiesce in that. Is there?
I have a new business question item. I'm going to make Catherine's night. So, you know how much I love subdivisions. And I've noted, I don't know, maybe it's always been there, but since I'm focused on this, that in the staff report, it says pursuant to paragraph blah, 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 the lot size, width, depth, shape, and orientation shall be appropriate for the location of the subdivision, which Heather always reminds me, that's what we have to look at, and for the type of development and use proposed. So doesn't that dependent clause mean we should be looking at why the land is being subdivided? Shouldn't we be looking at the type of development use proposed? And I've raised this under the rezone thing, and I'm going to raise it, and I'm saying this formally because I would like someone, the head honcho lawyer person, to put in writing a response to this. I believe that if we don't look at both the subdivision, the lot configuration, and the purpose for the subdivision, that we are doing segmentation under seeker. And I would like to have an official legal opinion about that, because if not, from now on under subdivisions, I'm always either going to abstain or I'm going to deny.
Can I ask that you send me an email with that
Sure,
question?
be happy to.
I will work with, especially since you want the head attorney, I will work with Mr. Smith to get.
I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to you, but I'm sure with something like this, it's going to get bumped up to some person who's unfortunately going to have to take responsibility. It's actually in my whole thing on rezone. And I could just send you an email that says, I would like an opinion on that last paragraph of my comments. So that way it'll be quick. Okay, I will do that tomorrow then.
Thank you.
It's just obviously something that sticks in my craw, and I think we need to have it resolved.
So for learning's sake, can you CC me on that email, please?
I'll do it to everybody. How's that?
Thanks.
I'll do it to everybody.
And once we do a memorandum of law, it'll go to all the board members.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm really done now.
Yes.
So, is there anything additional to come before us tonight other than the authorizations for September and adjournment? It looks like a relatively light schedule, although we do have a few things carried over. Gifford Street and the reopening of Tracy Street hearing, and 4 new ones. Is there anything else that needs to be added? Is there a motion to authorize those hearings?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstention?
Sorry.
Literally, we go one person, one vote.
Sorry.
He's excited.
Yeah.
He sees the door.
Yeah.
All of the above.
Sorry.
Please say nay.
Yeah. Sorry.
I know, I just have a compelling speaking style, and it just gets everyone caught up in it. Okay, so we have authorized those hearings for the 16th, and if there's nothing else to come before us, we only need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? We are adjourned till the 16th.
So,